Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Hello, space travelers. It's that time of the night where I say hello to all of you. My name is Dave Scott. This is Spaced Out Radio, and it's a Thursday night woo extravaganza. Samantha Mowat is our guest for the first couple of hours, where we are going to get into what it's like to have ET contact and more coming your way. Let's say hello to every one of you. We got Race Fan in the gold medal position, the lovely and talented Kira with a silver. Y2K taking home a bronze medal tonight. Hi, Roy Boy and Paula Fost, Karen the Woo Train, Tim Mothman and Tim Mothman's goatee, Jimmy Gonzalez, Stephanie Kenny Blankenship. Good to have you all here. Chris 716, Lightwalkers, Attorney at Large, Michael Morris, SG Dav Spotter, and Jessica Davenport. Thank you for coming on in. Roger Murray, how you doing, my man? Nikki in Seattle, and Jay Zen. Jay Zen, welcome to SOR Chat. Heidi Pop, welcome back. Heidi will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Deer Slayer, Mama Catherine, mwah, I love you, my dear. Cannot wait to see you in May 10th through 12th at the 3rd annual SOR Fan Party in Reno, Nevada. Get your tickets at info@spacedoutradio.com. You're all invited, by the way. Each and every one of you. You're all invited. Woo I Am, how are you? As we continue on with roll call tonight, time travel. Thank you for coming on in. Jenny White Bear, we love you, my dear. Hope you're having a great evening. T-Bone, my man. Dino Bravo, good to see you both. So we continue on with roll call. There's Paramarv. And who else is joining us? Road Flare and Amy Vegas. Oh, who says, God, I love it when Samantha's on. Amy Vegas will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Do not make eye contact. She will not sign if you make eye contact. All right. Dragonfly, how you doing? And number 17 in your program, starting at center ice tonight from Stockholm, Sweden. Lars Jansson. There he is. Esmeralda, thank you for joining us. Just another guy named Harry. Good to see you. Hi, JSCO. Good to have you back, my man. And Destiny Rocks, Android Paranormal. Susie B. I'm sure she's creating her outfit for Reno as we speak. Robert Lamoth, Area 51. Nice to have you back. Hi, Pam Harris. Ozzy Ange, how are you, my dear? Morning, Commonwealth, Ian McFadden. Good to see you. Kurt M. And who else is here tonight? Guy Calgary, Stargazer, Magnus Vermagnuson, and Skip Tamaloo. Good morning to you. Thomas Rock, Jeff Steve Garvey, he'll hit a home run for you. One of the Dudley boys, Troy Dudley, he'll put you through a steel table or hit you with a steel chair. One of the two, he'll put you through it. Yeah. I blew that one. I really did. Forrest Louie, how are you? And thank you for kicking off the Super Chat tonight. The Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you, Louie, for kicking things off. Vanessa, how are you? Hold on. There, we got the radio side going and the podcast side going. Samantha Mowat is our guest tonight on the show. We're talking about ET contact while we continue on with our roll call, waiting for Bill WD-40 to show up and lube us up for tonight's show. because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth. You don't want that rigidness. You need some WD-40 in there to smooth it on out. All right, Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Christine Lynn, Leanna King, welcome to SOR Chat. Hi, Susan Alloway, Marty Burback, and the Chronicles of Still Waters. What is happening? And who else is here? Decideritum? Probably got that wrong. But hello, welcome to SOR Chat. Who else is here tonight? Juliana, nice to see you. Android again, nice to have you here. Richard Elmore, good to have you back. Brown Dwarf, 5DRG, Maureen Green, and who else? Scrolling down as we count down the time till showtime. John P. Adventures, good to see you. And let's see here. We got 10 seconds. We're going to have to call it right there. I need a favor from each and every one of you. Throw those horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. A great show tonight as Samantha Mowat, good friend of mine, comes on in to talk about what it's like to have ET contact. Then in hour number 3, it's a busy one. Steve Stockton from Among the Missing. Then we have Robin McCrae Haynes with the Crypted Report. Follow that up with Dave 101. And the weird news to kick off 2024. All right. I love this when this night happens. My good friend Samantha Mowat is someone who is way out there in the broad spectrum of what it's like to be an ET contactee. She's clairvoyant. She's psychic. She literally is a lifelong contactee when it comes to extraterrestrials. Now, many people may say, that's a little too woo for what I'm getting into and what I'm used to in my everyday life with my 2 dogs, my 1 cat, my children, and my picket-fenced house. But for Samantha, this is an everyday occurrence. Something new happens that she can either not explain or explain, but with hard-to-understand information. This is why we bring her in, because she now helps counsel people who have had their own contact and are trying to figure out what's happened to them. So let's get right to it. Samantha Mowat, it is always a pleasure to have you on Spaced Out Radio. Good to see you again.
Hey, Dave. Thanks for having me. It's always fun.
And I look actually forward to seeing you a week from now, because you'll actually be in my town. Your children will be playing in a hockey tournament out here.
Yeah.
And everybody, the biggest joke, one of the biggest mysteries in my life is this, okay?
Mhm.
When I first met Samantha, 9.5, we're going on 10 years this year. 10
Wow.
years. Yeah, and I'm going to have you back on April 15th, because that'll be the 10-year anniversary of us meeting and having the encounter with aliens in the forest.
Yeah.
Okay? But in my 10 years of knowing you, I never, ever thought in my wildest dreams that you would become a hockey mom.
Neither
And
did I.
I don't know what happened, because you're so not sporty, okay?
I used to play sports.
Well, I know that, but you're a little bit accommodated with other things like aliens, but I just never saw it. This came
Yeah.
right out of left field, and every time I think about it, I'm still a little bit shocked over it. I'm not gonna lie.
I see that. And that's fine. I think sports are a great way for everyone to be able to stay active and make lots of friends. It's a good thing for kids to do.
Absolutely, and
Yeah.
so I cannot wait to spend some time with you, in a couple
Mhm.
of weeks here, but, you know, we had some exciting adventures last year,
Yeah.
and it may or may not have slipped out of my mouth, uh, you know,
David.
I
Mhm.
know, but,
I told
uh,
you.
other people were talking,
Okay.
and so I figured if other people around the community had already known about it, that I had to say something.
Okay.
So so
Well, I haven't said anything, so
I know you haven't. I know you haven't, but we may touch on that tonight just a little bit. But
if we have the consent of our group, I'm fine with it, but I don't want to
yeah,
step on toes.
Merle is fine with it.
Okay. What about the
Yeah.
other three?
The two cameramen don't care.
Okay.
And
And the other one?
don't know yet. Don't know.
Then okay.
Yeah, we'll keep it quiet. We'll keep it
Mm.
quiet. You know, but nonetheless, you are somebody who has been a lifelong ET contactee, and as
Mhm.
the UFO story continues to build around the world, and especially here in North America, about
Yeah.
whether or not we're heading into a disclosure world or not, I mean,
Yeah.
it does come to the fact that eventually, when you talk UFOs, you got to talk
Mhm.
aliens. So, for
Yes,
people
yes.
who may not know your lifelong story, in a
Mhm.
nutshell, give us a quick breakdown of how you found out you were a lifelong ET contactee.
So for me, this is something that has been happening from the time I was in infancy. And a lot of my earliest memories do have, in one form or another, a relation to contact. Right down from being in kindergarten and being in paramilitary quarters. My parents used to be in PMQs for our housing and accommodation, and being transported out of my bed as a very small child, going through the window and seeing a gray kind of perched on the side of the building with its eyes looking at me, through going through elementary school and having a lot of periods of time where I'd walk out of the house in the middle of the night when I was sleepwalking and find myself standing in the backyard or in the field behind our house, or finding myself in weird positions, like where I'd be standing in like the living room, looking at the living room window, and there would be a craft that was flying away. Things like that, when it happens throughout your entire life, Dave, you can't necessarily dismiss them. You just look at them, and even though you can't necessarily understand what's happening, especially not as a small child, if it happens to you often enough, you just kind of accept it as part of what is your reality. Luckily for me, I grew up in a family who would talk about extraterrestrials, multidimensional psychic abilities. So it was a very normal and accepted thing with my parents. And so I didn't suppress it the same way a lot of other children do. Even moving into my teenage years and when I eventually had children, my contact just kept increasing in frequency. And the amount of information I was able to retain after my contact experiences increased as well. So it's been a developing relationship with the beings, and they do seem to be giving me more information with time because I am receptive to it and typically not aggressive towards them. So they're more willing to interact and share as well. So it is a different dynamic between me and the beings compared to what they have with a lot of people.
I very much understand that,
Yeah.
and you know, as a late timer when it comes to learning about my own contact,
Mhm.
it is something that to me it's still hard to fathom that this actually goes on, and this actually is something that
Yeah.
is true and part of the spiritual divinity of each and every one of us, of who we are. You know, what
Mhm.
is you've been through the good, you've been through the bad, you've been through
Yeah.
the ugly. I want to focus more on the good today because I
Of
think a
course.
lot of times we try and, you know, post an ugly picture of what it is really like. I mean, but that's not
Yeah.
denying that it's actually happening. Okay.
Mhm.
For you, how many different beings have come in and visited you and been a part of maybe taking you on a ride, maybe just hanging out and having a coffee? I don't know how it works. Well, I do, but I'm just making words here.
The ones that I've had direct contact with, whether it is psychic, astral, or physical, is around 60. And those are the ones in contact with me, not talking about the ones in contact with my clients. So I'd like to explain that for a moment. If you are having physical contact, it is when a being quite literally comes into our dimension. It will come up to you, it will be able to touch you, it will be able to walk you from your bed out of your house and onto a craft. Whereas an astral encounter is every night when all of us go to sleep, we project out of our body, and sometimes you will have your consciousness be called or encounter these beings where they will bring you to where they're located or take you up onto a craft. Versus a psychic encounter is when you have something like a clear cognizant link or a telepathic link where they start talking to you, which can happen at a great distance. They don't necessarily have to be in front of you, although sometimes they can be as well, things of that nature. So for me, it's about 60 species at this time. And the only reason I know it's about 60 species is the book that I have just written and finished my second draft of outlines the 60 different species that I've been in contact with, what day I encountered them, what situation unfolded, whether it was astral, physical, or psychic, because I'm trying to help people understand the complex nature of contact itself. Whereas, Dave, I have encountered a lot of species through my clients that I have not had personal contact with, where they'll come forward in the same way that spirit guides, angelic beings, and ancestors do as well, through a clairvoyant understanding. And what that would be is with clairvoyance, you can either see things with your eyes in the room in front of you, or you can see things in your mind, almost like when you're recalling a memory, how that image is very clear and distinct. In which case, I've seen countless species with my clients over the last 20 years.
Okay, so the fact that
Mhm.
you help people now understand what is going on in their lives,
Yeah.
how has that transitioned to what happens in your life? Has it made it more complicated? Has it made it more difficult, or has made contact easier?
In some ways, it's made it easier because I realized that with my psychic abilities, I'm better able to communicate with these beings and therefore have less of a fear response to them as a whole. Because let's be very honest here, some of these beings are quite unsettling looking if it's your first time encountering them. And for a lot of people, if you are seeing a reptilian in person for the first time, or you're seeing a tall gray or a mantis hovering over you, or even an angelic being in its true light body form, it can be quite unsettling when you have something like that physically appearing before you, because the energetic vibration is so different than what we're normally accustomed to experiencing near us. And so, with the psychic aspect of being able to feel the energy coming out of their auric field, being very kind and benevolent, and then getting the telepathic information into the head saying, hey, look, we're not here to talk or we're not here to hurt you, we're here to talk to you, or we need to take you and go heal you, it does make it less frightening to go through these experiences, being able to communicate with them.
How does communication happen?
I beg your pardon?
How does communication happen?
So, for the most part, a lot of these species don't necessarily communicate using their vocal cords in their mouth in the same manner that we do when they are in communication with humans. And that is because their vocal capabilities and the manner in which they're communicating isn't quite the same as ours. Mantises, sometimes they will click and make trilling type sounds, but they do speak to us more telepathically, and same with most of the extraterrestrial multidimensional beings. And there's a very distinct aspect that needs to be brought forward is the extraterrestrial and multidimensional, because most of the beings that we're perceiving as extraterrestrial are actually multidimensional and coming from a higher or lower even vibrational frequency plane. And so telepathic communication is when one mind is connected to another, and sometimes multiple minds in that case. So, for instance, a gray can come into a room where you, your wife, your children are, and telepathically communicate with all of you simultaneously, which is really fascinating. And what this does is it's actually when their mind is connecting into yours, it's almost like you hear them very clearly, very distinctly. They can, if they need to, they will change their appearance in your mind so that you're perceiving them as someone that you know, if they don't want to frighten you or if they need for you to have more trust in them or to feel almost like a greater sense of comfort, because a lot of times they don't want to frighten us yet need to interact with us.
Okay, so the ones that come
Mhm.
around, we always hear the stories about, it starts off maybe with a UFO sighting, and then it
Mhm.
starts off with a how can you put it? It starts off with, something a little bit
Mhm.
timid, a little bit shy, where maybe the aliens are a distance away and you see
Mhm.
them for the first time. Is that usually how an encounter starts, considering we hear so many times about people who are having absolute terror of what's happening to them?
Mm. It depends on the person. It depends on the relationship of the beings that they're interacting with and the technology that that beings possess. So, for instance, if, for instance, you are in the woods or in a cabin somewhere where the beings are able to land a craft and then walk to come get you, that can be a very easy way for one to approach you and come have an interaction or an encounter with you. But a lot of times, many of us live in apartments, townhouses, or in close proximity to their neighbors. And so many times a craft will hover above your home. It will be cloaked, which means that the appearance of the craft, it's almost like it has a cloak of invisibility around it because the particles of the craft have almost like a layer around them to reflect the sky of what's around it. And so people will just look at it and might see like a slight haziness if they're clairvoyant, or most people would just see almost like the normal sky. And then they will travel through either an orb or through vortex technology from the craft into your home. And then a vortex can open up in a closet, along a wall. Sometimes they appear in doorways, but other times an orb will come down with the being transported from the craft coming down into your home, and the being will step forward from the orb and then collect you that way. So there are a lot of manners that these beings are able to use for collection. It's not always just you'll see a craft coming down from the sky. That does happen, but it's not as common.
How do they usually introduce themselves?
Well, I hate to say it, but most of the time they come at nighttime. And the reason they come at nighttime is it's easier for them to interact with us and know where we're going to be. And that sounds so weird to people when you explain it. So what I find very commonly is some of the beings, once I have a like almost like a working relationship with them, they will come around our house at almost any time, which is fine, especially if I know their vibration or I know, okay, these ones are nice to my children or they're nice to me or whatever. But more commonly, you're this is gonna sound so unsettling, but if they come in the middle of the night, which is the most common time for a lot of them to come, you will probably wake up and you'll be sleeping in your bed, and all of a sudden you'll wake up and you'll be wide awake. And then you'll feel this weird vibration kind of over top of your house. And it feels like at first, almost like a vibrational blanket comes down where it feels like everything's kind of humming and buzzing for a moment. And then it can feel like everything is unsettlingly still. And we find this quite commonly at our home where we won't hear a refrigerator. We won't hear the furnace kicked on. We won't hear the sound of the fans in any of the bedrooms. And it's so weird because you won't even hear like the hum from like any of your technology. It's almost like everything is so quiet. And it's almost like a force field has gone up around your home. And when this happens, you can kind of feel that everything feels really, really still. And then the next thing that we find typically is that the beings will end up walking into our space. Sometimes they'll put a vortex in the hallway, or they'll do an orb and come down from the craft, and it will come through the ceiling and come through the room and collect us. Or we'll actually have a hole open up in the ceiling and then be taken out of our beds and levitate upwards, which is a really weird one. Which, when stuff like that happens, it is terrifying for your pets and not very nice. My one dog, my Aussie Shepherd, is terrified of light. So if he sees a prism light going through our front windows. We used to have like some prisms that reflect rainbows into the space. He would freak out and try to eat them. The same with if you have a flashlight and have it like the reflection of your phone like this and the reflection kind of going on the wall. He would freak out because he would see that and associate it with craft. And then he'd try to get it because he knows that they come and take us in the middle of the night. And so your pets are impacted if you have contact, not just you and your children.
I see that. Okay.
Yeah.
For a lot of us, we don't
Mhm.
know that it's happening. We may think it's a bad dream. We may think it's a
Yeah.
bad nightmare that's going on, or just something that's lucidly happening. How do we know
Okay.
if it's real or not?
Well, there's a couple ways you guys can do this to try to determine if your contact is just a figment of your imagination or if it is actually something that is occurring for you. If you were to install cameras in your home, they will just turn them off. We've tried. We've tried having cameras outside, we've tried having stuff inside, it does nothing. And you're like, well, why would they turn them off? Well, the cameras and the technology emit a vibration they're able to sense, so that's not a good option. Instead, what I recommend for people is if you suspect you're having contact, I would go back and get a journal and write down every weird and paranormal experience you've had from any point in your lifetime. And then after you're like, take about 6 months to do this. And as you're doing it, you're going to recall everything from like, hey, I had some missing time here, or I think I saw a ghost at this age, or I think I had this weird memory happening from when I was 4, or whatever it is. Write it all down. And the reason you do that is you actually start to unlock the memories that you've suppressed in your brain, make it so you can better remember your contact. And from there, I'd actually recommend going to a trusted hypnotherapist and starting to unlock your memories if you are someone who suspects it, but don't have clear memories coming forward. Go with someone, ask your angels and guides just in your head or out loud, hey, angels and guides, can you help me to find a good therapist to talk through this? Can you also help me find a good hypnotherapist to be able to recall the information? You can ask your angels and guides to help you remember this as well, and they will help you, but it might come back slowly in dreams. For most people who are just remembering their contact, Dave, it doesn't come back as like solid PTSD visions right away for most people. For most of them, pardon me, what comes forward is you actually have fragmented memories coming back in your dream time. So when you go to sleep, you might remember seeing a craft, and you might remember something about seeing eyes looking at you at one point, or you might have this recurring dream of seeing um, lights on coming down through the window from when you were a child and like lighting up your bedroom. It'll be really weird, fragmented stuff that comes forward, and it might not be in sequential order. I'm so sorry, my throat's being funny. And so going to a hypnotherapist is a very beneficial way for you to help remember that. Now, I bring up the therapist aspect because when you repress memories like this, it can be kind of traumatic if you don't know exactly what's happening. And it's very good to have someone that you trust and that you feel safe talking to. And so I do recommend, getting in contact with someone like Mary Rodwell who can possibly help you through this.
Okay, so with 2
Mm,
minutes to go here, is
okay.
it something, granted this is the only life that
Yeah.
with this happening,
Mhm.
is it something that you have normalized? Is it something that
Yeah.
people should normalize?
I think so, especially at the rate of how our civilization is going back to having regular contact with extraterrestrial multidimensional beings over the next couple hundred years. It would be beneficial for most people to start looking into this subject and really getting a better idea of who's coming to visit us, what their intentions are, and working on their psychic abilities so that they can interact with them. Most of these beings, if you don't already have contact, the best way to initiate contact is to actually through consciousness. So, doing things like yoga, meditation, things that actually help you to expand your consciousness can help to facilitate encounters with them, both astrally and physically.
Okay. Is it
Mhm.
healthy?
It can be. If you are able to have ones come forward that are more benevolent in nature, yes, I would say so.
Okay, and
Mhm.
a lot of people wouldn't think that because of their own bias and fears on it, and I can say that with my own,
Mhm.
uh, understanding of that.
But I mean, on the same hand, humanity as a whole is learning to get past the biases and the fears that we have towards other races, religions, and nationalities at the same time. It's really no different. These are just other people from other worlds and other dimensions. That's all they are, is different civilizations.
True, but,
Mhm.
I mean, for a lot of people out there, they don't expect us not to be alone.
True, but a lot of the beings that are out there, quite a few of them look very similar to us. There are a lot of humanoid races on planets that are even close to us. Even some of the star systems that are nearby have humans that could pass for Earth human.
Okay, alright. So, how do you manage it all? 45 seconds.
The easiest way that I manage a lot of this is I journal, I write it down, and I have people that I trust that I can talk to about my experiences as they occur. They are my lifeline and the ones who help me to better understand the contact experiences that I have. But luckily, I was born to a bloodline that has contact, so I can talk to a lot of my family about these things. I'm luckier than most people, unfortunately, when it comes to that.
Yeah, and I can see, in
Mm,
knowing you and the way you are and everything, I can see where that would be something that
yeah,
is comforting to you.
yeah,
Let us go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Spaced
sure,
Out Radio with Samantha Mowat tonight. SamanthaMowat.ca is her
yeah.
website, and you want to check it on out if you want to find out more about who she is, the readings that she does, more on ET Contact with Samantha Mowat right here on Spaced Out Radio. It's coming on up. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, we are clear.
Nice. Sounds good.
Hello, Matthew Gutka, Ozzy Ange. How are you both? Let's see here.
Sorry.
Hey, that's your phone.
Kids' bedtime alarm. Kids go to bed.
Go to bed, kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got it.
I know that feeling. That feeling all too well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but Dave, with contact, it is in a lot of ways more complicated than people think, but it's actually very, like, with the experiences that you've had with me, and, we definitely are going to have a lot more in the future, which is great. Do you see how if you keep yourself very calm, they're more inclined to interact with you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I just wish that.
You could walk up and shake one's hand. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to be. I
Mhm.
want to find the strength in myself to
Do that.
to um
Yeah.
have the
Mm.
I'll say the balls to go face to face and just say hi. Do you like
Okay.
hi?
The
You know?
high's fine. I'm sure they'll appreciate any greetings that you want to give them. A lot of the beings, the one thing I've noticed is quite often when they come to see you, they'll keep a distance. They'll want to give you a little bit of space. And especially if you're not in your home environment, but if they come into your home, those ones I find will come like right up to you, 2 feet away from your bed and look down at you, which can be really freaky.
Oh, I've had that
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
Okay. And oh, thank you, Pix. I have the best hair in
Yeah.
radio.
He does.
Yeah, thank you. And
Although
Samantha,
Pixel's hair looks good too.
yeah, Pix has a nice head of hair.
I see
Yeah.
that.
And Matt Geek, how you doing? Erlam, Australia, welcome to SOR chat. Thank you for joining us. And who else is here? Let's jump in. Matthew Gutka. What else? What was I just saying? Besides, until I got
Waking
all.
up in the middle of the night,
Oh,
having
yes.
something looking down
Like
at you.
I've known when I've had my back to the outside of my bed.
Yeah.
I've known when they've been standing there. It's happened to me about 2-3 times
Yeah.
where it's like, I know if I turn over right now, I'm
You're
going to
face
see
to face.
something that I'm
Yeah.
not prepared for. And I remember one time the family was gone. It was just
Mhm.
me at home,
Yeah.
and that happened.
And it could be kind of freaky when stuff like that happens.
You're home alone. It's very freaky. Very freaky when you're home alone. And I didn't like that one. I didn't
No.
like that one whatsoever.
No.
Real DJ Fruit Loops, how you doing? Welcome to SOR chat. I'm
Mhm.
trying not to get a cold here.
I wish you luck. It's really bad this year.
Yeah, I've dodged it so far.
That's good.
Dodged it so far.
Well, whatever you're doing must be working.
Let's see. Maureen says,
Mhm.
I'm thinking Dave and Samantha should consider a retreat of some kind, sort of like what Greer offers. Yeah, but we wouldn't charge
No.
$3,500 per person. Nina Williams,
That
how you?
is that what he charges?
Yeah, about there, 2,500 to 3,500 for one of his weekends.
What does he offer? Like, I haven't looked into Steven's stuff, so. I don't know. Let's just go camping. See what we can bring out. Camping's the
Yeah.
way to do it.
Hey, Reality, how you doing?
Mhm.
Yeah, go camping with Samantha. Go out in the forest with Samantha.
You love it. Admit it. You love it.
Kira says it's 5,000 per person.
Kira, that is a lot of money.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. Like, I can't. I'm sorry, but that doesn't make sense to me. Why would you charge people that to have an experience with consciousness? That doesn't
Right.
make sense to me. No.
Right. Jeremy Jones, how you doing?
Hmm.
Big thank you to Force Louie,
Yeah.
T-Bone, and Mama Catherine for the
Mm.
super chats tonight.
Yeah.
Very much appreciate the love and support. Excuse me.
Mhm.
Did it snow up there today?
Yeah, we had just a sprinkling. We only had snow on Christmas. We're pretty bald for snow this year. How about you?
Oh gosh, we got about a whole inch today.
Oh, deadly. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
hoping my drive down's a nice snowless one. That'd be good. Although I'm wanting to see a craft again, so I'm hoping that I'll get to see one when we're driving down. Be
Cool.
nice.
All right, 3 seconds.
Mhm.
Here we go with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Reminder to all of you that all of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/spaced out radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Samantha Mowat is here. What is it like to have ET contact? We're going to continue the conversation right now. Samantha, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure, Dave. I'm having fun.
Out of all the beings that you have had contact with,
Yeah.
okay, most people will have contact with grays.
Yes.
Okay, most of my contact has been with grays. Most people who talk about the grays, what are the grays? Are they humanoids? Are they their own soul? Are they robots, like biological robots? What are they, in your opinion?
Based upon the understanding that I have, they do have a soul. And the only reason why I say they have a soul is because my next child that I'm going to have, he has shown me his gray form many times from being a brand new hybrid child through being a straight gray, and has shown me that his soul will be going into a resting chamber while he incarnates here on Earth, and then he will return to that afterwards. So, yes, I would definitely say they have a soul. I do believe that there are some almost robotic style grays, but I don't necessarily think they're as common as people believe they are. Most people think they're all that way, but I think that misinterpretation or assumption comes from the fact that the grays don't necessarily express emotion the same way we do. Just like how on Earth, North Americans, we're very expressive. We tend to be very, well, loud and emotional and kind of pretty blunt with the way that we are. Whereas you look at some of the other cultures on the earth, for example, looking at how reserved the Japanese culture is, very polite, very stoic compared to us. I want you to take that same example and compare humans to greys. The greys are more stoic and more reserved with the way that they choose to express emotions. They are more logical than us. And it's just because they approach life in a very different way than we do. They have bred a lot of their emotion out and they're trying to breed it back in.
One of the big misconceptions
Yeah.
with these beings is that they don't care. They seem to be very robotic and or just very strict to their duty on what they
Okay.
are doing. Are there different
Yeah.
species of grays,
Yeah.
say, doing the contact? Like,
Mhm.
we shouldn't lump them all together into the same boat?
That's right. There are a lot of different species of grays, not just the tall grays, the small grays, but there's also some that have singular craniums, dual craniums, and even the different grays, they come from a lot of different places as well. It's not just the Orion star system, they come from a lot of them. And the different species of grays have different intentions towards Earth humans in the same way that we have very different intentions as humanity towards animals. And I want you to take that into consideration when you're looking at the experiences that humans have with the grays on our abduction experiences. Some of the grays are lovely. Sometimes they will make me laugh. And, one way that the grays don't necessarily, I think, portray themselves well is when they go into your head and they project the image of a clown into your head, especially when you're a child, because they're thinking, oh, Earth humans, they like clowns, makes them happy, makes them laugh, they'll be happy, come see us. And as a result, we have a lot of people that are also terrified of clowns who constantly have contact because of the beings trying to do something that they view as a benevolent action to have interactions with these humans the humans kind of remember some of the scary parts and then associate that with the grays. And so it's not necessarily their intention to be mean towards us, but yeah, some of them are quite frankly jerks. But it's just like humans, you can't group all of them in the same umbrella.
Very true. Very
Yeah,
true with that. Now, as you know, the contact continues to build with people.
yeah,
The grades continue to take you at the same rate. Like for instance, you're somebody who has contact quite
yeah,
often. I
yeah.
do not, at least as
Mhm.
far as I know. Many people may have a one and done possibility. How is this happening?
It depends upon their investment upon the individual. Yes, some people will be going through an experience like, camping, fishing, driving down the highway at night, and have a contact experience, then put back. Some people are just one and done ones. And those people are that way because they're not from a followed bloodline. Other individuals, their bloodlines are being loosely monitored, for instance, yours, where there's some extraterrestrial and multidimensional interest and intervention, where they come in to do the regular checkups to see, okay, what's going on with Dave's hormones, what's going on within his memories, what are we seeing for him as far as his consciousness is concerned, are we seeing any diseases that we have to take care of, stuff of that nature. Whereas you move up to the next level with it, where the bloodlines that are more successful for the alterations that it comes down to, and this has to lead into the hybridization program, where they're doing specific bonding and pairing between humans. I'm probably explaining this in a more complicated fashion. Let me explain it more simply. Dave, when it comes to bloodlines like my own, we have more contact because the ways that the alterations that the extraterrestrials and multidimensionals have been doing for generations have been very successful. And your bloodline would have been tweaked as well, and certain things work, certain things don't. And so, when it's very successful for increasing the amount of psychic capability, for the lucid dreaming, the astral projection, the telepathic communication, the making of very healthy hybrids, and the ability to handle certain levels of emotion without it fracturing off and becoming mental illness or leading towards addiction, then those ones they tend to breed more. And then they tend to, like, you got to remember when you go up on a craft, you actually will be going from the time you're born until the time you die. And because you already have contact, you will have been going through this since childhood. You may only have it once or twice a year, and that's the case for some people. Other people go once or twice a month. Really doesn't matter. One is not better than the other. It's different expectations and different experiences that they're going through. And for the ones that have it more frequently, they will be bred more and they will have more experiences, not just monitoring their health, their mental abilities, their interactions here on Earth, but they will also be more inclined to be teaching the extraterrestrials and multidimensionals on craft. They're the ones who are going to have more interaction with hybrids because they are viewed as being able to better handle the interactions and handle the vibration on craft for longer periods of time, as well as being bred more. So once they start going to their breeding years, around the time you're a teenager, ending in about your 50s, because most contactees who are being bred, we are fertile for longer and have more dual ovulations and things of that nature, higher sperm counts. And what this does is you'll have more interactions on craft and more interactions with the beings in a physical capacity because you're being used for more things. And this people are like, oh my God, Samantha, that's being used. That's so bad. They're taking advantage of you. They're bad. It's like, well, no, not necessarily. I love meeting my hybrids. I love knowing that I've got, at this point, well over 100 kids from what I've noticed. It's ridiculous. And the way they do this isn't the same as ours. And here's where it gets a little complicated for people, Dave, is they're able to take us at one point in time. We can be gone on craft for days, weeks, months, sometimes even years, and then brought back to that moment in time because they have age regression technology. They have the ability to do time travel. They have the ability to step from one dimension into another. That's why there's some videos of UFOs where they're there for one moment and disappear the next. That's also why we see the beings looking like they come and go like that too. And when we're looking at this in relation to what you're asking, why some people are one and done, why some people have more, it does depend upon your vibration. And they do vibrational altering. And what this means is everybody has an aura. And what your aura is able to handle determines how well you are able to tolerate being in the physical space of something like an extraterrestrial multidimensional spacecraft. Dave, if I were to take you, W. Decker, if I were to take you, and let's say I'm an ET, and let's say that I were to take you onto craft, and you've never been on craft before, after a while, you will have a headache, you will have a nosebleed, you will have fluctuations in your vision, you might start throwing up, you won't be able to handle the vibration, you'll probably start passing out. And then the next thing that'll end up happening is it could be very problematic for your health. So for them, they're more likely to take you for a very short period of time and put you back. Whereas with Dave, for instance, with you and your bloodline, you can probably handle being there for hours, possibly days. But longer than that, you can't handle as well just because you aren't as genetically capable. Do you understand? Like, I'm really not trying to be condescending with that. I'm really not. I'm just trying to explain it very bluntly. And so, with that aspect, the ones that have more of the genetic and energetic manipulation and alteration can better handle being off planet for greater lengths of time, therefore get more interaction and longer interaction.
I see that. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't normally answer or ask questions until hour two, but I'm going to sneak this one in
Mm-hmm.
from Pix here. Samantha, given that some non human intelligence aren't friendly, should
Mm-hmm.
experiencers simply look at encounters in the most non emotional and matter of fact but aware way?
Honestly, Pix, I think that's a brilliant thing to do with that. And with a lot of my encounters, like when I was writing my book and I was going through all of my encounters and I did my best to be as honest and raw with them from the time I was like the infanthood all the way through to my mid 30s. And I was looking at it, I was trying to be very objective with it because that helped me to actually analyze the information of what happened, what the being's intentions were. And we have to look at it in the same capacity as I want for you to picture it this way. Imagine we have two whales. The first whale is swimming in the ocean, and as it's swimming in the ocean, it gets tangled up in a net. And let's say both whales get tangled up in different nets at different parts of the planet at the exact same time. And with whale number one, it starts getting pulled into a boat. And it's being pulled up into a boat that is going to be, let's say, made into food for humans. Imagine that whale manages to escape for whatever reason and get out of the net and it swims away and it's like humans are terrifying and they're mean and we can't trust them. And that whale ends up swimming across the ocean and with its pod and it meets up with the other whale who, while they were both tangled in the net, whale number two ends up encountering a different group of humans. And those humans are stroking the whale, they're making sure it's got water, kind of like on it, they're cutting the net off, they're helping it to get free. And that whale's like, actually, I met them. I thought they were really nice. I thought humans were fantastic. They saved me. Neither whale is going to really understand the experience of the other one. And I'm bringing this up because even with the extraterrestrials and the multidimensionals, a lot of contactees, like we do have to look at our experiences very objectively and not discredit the experiences of other people. And that's one thing I know that you're wondering, why is this related, Sam? How is this relevant? But this is related because if we can look at our experiences very objectively as a whole, we can understand the true nature of all the contact that's happening for humans on this planet. We can't just look at any one contact or even one group of contactees and say, yeah, they've got it 100% right. So we have to look at all of it very objectively, slightly unemotionally, just to see it clearly.
Makes a lot of sense. It really
Yeah.
does. I mean, the idea though that
Yeah.
you may have great contact, I may have
Mhm.
nightmarish things happening to me.
Yeah.
Is this all a part of a plan? Do we agree to this happening? Or how do they find us? How do they choose us? Because like I asked you earlier,
Yeah.
some people get taken once.
Mhm.
Maybe it's a mistake that, they're hanging out with their buddy or their girlfriend, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden they're staring out at the stars, except one of those stars keeps getting closer and closer and closer.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden you become almost like what's the saying I'm looking for here? Um,
Like Travis Walton type thing?
yeah, or
Okay.
you know that type of thing where it wasn't really supposed to happen, but now you've kind of made yourself something. You
Mm.
know, I mean, how do you get out of it? How do you or can you when that happens?
So you've asked me like 4 questions. I'll try my best to answer them. For some people, it is just happenstance where you are in the right place at the right time to be going through that situation. Some of these beings will take people they don't have soul contracts with. Those beings don't tend to be as benevolent. They don't tend to give two flying turtles about whether you're going through any pain in your contact, any fear in this contact experience, or what you take away. They don't care. Whereas with some of the other beings, and for people that have regular contact or have multiple instances of contact with the same group, it is most likely that there is a soul contract that has been made prior to this person's incarnation, which allows for there to be interactions between the person and the beings having experiences with them. And so the easiest thing you can do to really understand your contact nature with them is not just outlining exactly what happened in your contact experiences that you can recall, writing down all of them, putting them in chronological order, and looking at it objectively, but also take into consideration, hi, Timber Hunter, what it is that you feel when you take, like when you look at your contact experiences. For some people, it is hybridization. For others, you're here for school and craft. For others, they're here to just relay information to the beings, where the beings will go into their mind to see exactly what that person sees all of their contact experiences with normal day-to-day humans and what's happening in the world, because they see it without the filter, Dave. We have vibrations occurring on this planet, which makes it very hard for most people to see what beings are actually walking around. If you and I walked into Walmart, if we passed a being that was an extraterrestrial or a multidimensional that was cloaking, you would just think it's like normal Joe Blow who's right beside you. And I might look at that being like, yep, that's definitely a reptilian. Yep, that's definitely a mantis, something like that. Could be a very different experience. And that's what the ETs are looking at for some people, as they look and see what that human actually saw to see what's going on down here.
Hmm.
So it's a lot.
Very true. How many of these species that you know of
Hmm.
have ties to government?
At least several. The ones I know for sure off the top of my head are grays, mantises, whites, reptilians for sure. Those are the ones that I know of off the top of my head. I'd have to go through my binder, which has, I think within my book, I think I have I think 500 experiences there, but I have several hundred experiences written out, a lot of which I'm not willing to share with the public.
Hmm. A lot of
There,
it can a lot of it can be very personal. Okay, especially, let's say you're
yeah.
waking up in the middle of the night and you have somebody else's clothing on.
Well, that's
Okay,
not a fun one. Or you're naked. That's not a fun one either.
or you wake up in a different room,
Yeah, that's
or
unsettling.
you wake up with a bloody nose,
Yeah.
or I remember
Mhm.
when I started delving into this,
Yeah.
I've never had nosebleeds.
No.
Okay, not since I was a kid,
Mm.
but after playing hockey and had my nose broken a couple of times.
Yeah.
Okay, I never really got nosebleeds.
Mm.
And I remember when I started getting into this, I didn't know nosebleeds were a part of things.
Hmm.
And yet, all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, I'd be having nosebleeds.
Yeah. That makes sense. I know that we've gone through a lot of pillowcases that, like within our household, where people do wake up in the middle of the night, and now we've got face cloths that are ruined, or towels that are ruined, or pillowcases that's like, okay, well, it's got blood on it, so yeah, you try to get it out, but you just can't. Same with waking up with metallic taste in your mouth. Sorry, my face is itchy.
I don't like when that happens. Like you
No.
just had fillings done. Ugh.
Yeah, not pleasant.
Well, let's talk about that. I'll
Sure.
change the topic here. Let's talk about some of those signs that we can
Mm-hmm.
look for. As we got about 5.5 minutes before we have to go to break at the top of the hour.
No problem. So the most common ones that I find that people are able to look for is if you wake up in the middle of the night and you're in the wrong location. As we talked about earlier, me waking up as a child, standing in the living room, finding myself outside, finding myself in the field, being like, why am I barefoot waking up outside? This is silly. I don't remember walking out here. Finding yourself standing in front of a door is a very common one as well. Sleepwalking, or seeing that your children are sleepwalking when they didn't have a history of it before and walking into a wall is a very common one. Yes, the nosebleeds are a big one. Migraines after suspected contact is a common one. Same with visual disturbances, where your eyes might actually be worse for a couple days after, and that could be related to the migraine and the contact. Um, Waking up tasting something like an extremely chalky, gritty type taste in your mouth, or waking up having like a very strong fruity taste in your mouth are two very common tastes that I've associated with drinks I've been given on craft that are used for health. Let me think here. Oh, when you're like kind of feeling like you're being placed back down on your bed and kind of feeling that sinking feeling like you're being plopped back down. Think of like when your parents used to put you to bed when you were a child and you'd kind of wake up like someone was carrying you and putting you down is another one. Yes, waking up in different clothes is another one. But other weird things like if you think you had contact and you go outside, you might notice that there's some odd footprints outside of your tent or outside of your house. That happens too. Having a weird reoccurring memory of like lights coming down, coming in through a window on like a horizontal angle. Same with like lights going up is a very common one too. The waking up in the middle of the night and hearing absolutely nothing. You can't hear like traffic from the street or anything like that is very common when there's beings coming around you. You're like if you're having this happen, my dogs are always really anxious after we have a physical encounter. And so both my dogs are slightly reactive because of it. They don't like people coming and going. They both get really freaked out if lights are doing weird things in the house. Like if we're having light bulbs suddenly like blowing out or flickering going on and off, they freak out. Same with animal behavior being out of character. So if you notice that your cats are hiding a lot more or your cats are looking very stressed, very anxious and peeking out, that's a common one with contact. You might wake up and notice that your curtains aren't in the position that you left them or that your door isn't locked is a very common one as well. Those are the ones I can think of off the top of my head.
I think that's a lot of different possibilities that people should be aware of going
Mm,
forward because you're not always going to see them,
mm-mm. And
but you're
you'll have cognitive dissonance too, where you don't want to believe this is happening to you. And you're like, no, no, that's not happening. No, that's not what that is. And then you'll add it up and be like, um,
yeah. You don't
mm,
want to be waking up on
mm-mm.
the middle of the table listening to Samantha's voice saying, "Oh, it doesn't hurt."
It doesn't. It's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
And come on,
Mm,
Dave. It's not that bad when they do that. At least
no.
they're saying that to you. Quite commonly, where they're doing stuff like that, if you're someone who has had an experience like Dave is talking about, where you find yourself waking up on craft and you're going through some sort of medical procedure, if you were to take your attention and kind of like here, it's probably easier for you to see this part. You'll probably feel like there's two fingers pushing down in this area, and off there's some sort of pressure point here where they push down, and it actually I don't know how they do it with energy or what they're doing, but it actually makes it so you're not really able to move. And you just kind of like I think it might be an energy transfer where their fingers have like energy coming out of them that's very calming, very soothing. And by extension, it gets you to not really register what's happening to you and blocks out the pain receptors, but also convinces you not to move or panic.
Do they drug you first?
They don't normally give you medication. It's normally just psychic influence. They never gave me medication with any of the times I've given birth on craft.
True.
No.
True. What do you think they
Mhm.
want with 1 minute to go here? We could carry this over the next hour. What do you
Sure.
think they want with the human experience?
A lot of them are fascinated with our emotional capacity. Others are interested in our genetics because we have a lot of different extraterrestrial and multidimensional genetics in the Earth humans. There are lots of humans around the universe, but the Earth humans have a lot more genetic modification, causing for us to be a little bit different that way. We're a little more unpredictable, but we also have more things unlocked because of it. That's why we're seeing so many different species really fascinated with what's going on down here.
Okay, Samantha, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because
Mhm.
with 15 seconds to go, it's
Yeah.
going to be one of those times where we say time for a break. Here at the top of the hour, ET contactee Samantha Mowat is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We are having one heck of a great conversation with Samantha. As we go into hour number 2 of the show, we will introduce audience questions as well. An exciting second hour of Spaced Out Radio coming up. My name is Dave Scott. We'll see you on the other side of the commercial break. All right, we are clear. Hi, badass Billy Gunn. How you doing? I'm gonna take a quick break. I'm having like really bad heartburn, so
You
I'm
okay?
just. Oh, I'm fine. I'm just having heartburn right now. I'm just gonna go
Okay.
grab some Tums from my pocket upstairs.
Sounds
So
good.
I'm just gonna put you back in the green room, and I'll be right back. Okay?
Sounds
All right. Be right back, people. All right. I am back, and Samantha is back.
Mm,
We're all back. Thank you to Pix, W. Decker, Mr. Catfish, Mama Catherine, T-Bone, and Louie for
mhm.
the super chats.
Yeah.
Very much appreciated. Reminder to everybody, the third annual SOR Fan Party is coming up in Reno, Nevada, May 10th through 12th at the Silver Legacy Casino and Resort. You get a free radio show. You can get your VIP package for $100, which includes a swag bag. And we have good swag. We don't have terrible swag. Ask the people who were there last year. They got good swag. Thank you, Davey. A good Canadian super chat there. Very much appreciate that. Anyways, Merle's going to be there for a
Mhm.
ghost tour. Melinda Leslie's going to be there for a UFO Skywatch. You get the free
Nice.
show. You get a VIP party with all of
Mhm.
our guests that are going to be showing up. Maybe we can convince Samantha to come down too. So,
I'll see what I'm doing.
yeah,
I'll
we'll
try.
see what you're doing that weekend. It is Mother's Day weekend. So, here we go with hour number 2, everybody.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate hanging out with all of you and for everyone else on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. You can join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Faience. Faience is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight, what else was I going to say? Oh, yeah. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. We continue on with Samantha Mowat tonight on this big show that we call the Mighty SOR. And we always appreciate when Samantha comes on in to talk about all sorts of ET contact and how it relates to you. Samantha, welcome back.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, let's start off before we get to audience questions. Let's start off with,
Mhm.
right before the break, we talked about, signs that people might be able to see. Are more people being contacted now? Like, are you starting to get more people reaching out saying, "Hey, I think I've had an ET experience"?
Yeah, it's pretty consistent over the years. I find a lot of people are a little nervous about it. And my guides told me I've got very obvious ones, such as markings on the body. So puncture wounds, triangle red marks, 6 dots in a complete circle with like a dot in the middle, waking up with really weird burn marks, scratches, stuff like that is common with contact as well. Now, getting back to your second question, yes, a lot of people do reach out about that, but most people want to know that in conjunction with the psychic aspect as well.
Okay, how does the psychic aspect coincide with ET contact?
So if you were to just go to someone who's more focused on the aspect of looking at, okay, let's say you went to someone who's a researcher in this, they'll be able to tell you, okay, well, these are the common reasons behind this happening. Versus when you go to someone who is psychic and who has better understanding about these beings, they can tell you, okay, well, I'm noticing that you've got this group around you. I've noticed that this one came forward. For instance, Dave, let's say I were reading you. I'd probably notice grays around you. I'd probably end up noticing, yes, some Sasquatch beings. And if you had contact, I'd be like, okay, well, let's talk to the grays. Let's see what they're saying is the reason behind their contact with you. And let's see when they most recently contacted you and what's going on there, looking at the relationship between you and them, talking to them to find out if you're involved in hybridization, finding out if they are trying to take care of certain things within your body and if they're doing implants in you and if they're not, and if they're ethereal or if they're physical, if so, trying to find out whether most of your contact is astral or physical, things in relation to that, just to help people have a better understanding and then helping them to better understand okay, if you are going on to craft, what are you doing on there? What are your soul contracts with these beings? What is the intention of them and kind of what's happening? Are the more common things that psychics like myself tend to do, like tend to look for and tend to discuss with the beings to help give further clarity about what's going on for people.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
Let's start with some audience questions here.
Okay.
And let's go to Pix here, who is
Okay.
asked, Sam, best you know are friendly non-human intelligence or aliens, whatever we call them, in an active phase of revealing their presence, and is government aware or being pushed by such? Seems a popular point of view. Makes sense.
Well, Pix, one thing that they're trying to do at this time is they're trying to encounter most people through either your claircognizance, which is where you get telepathic downloads from beings. So a lot of people, if you're on any social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you'll notice there's like this huge rush of people coming out in the last 5, 10 years who are saying, hey, I'm so-and-so. I'm in contact with this group or that group. And it's because these beings are helping those humans to remember their contact. They're starting to communicate with them psychically, astrally, and physically to try to normalize the contact that's happening. Now, the reason they're doing this is contact has been happening on this planet ever since humans came to this planet. That is very, very normal here. But what they're doing at this time is they're trying to increase the consciousness that is happening to help take us out of the cycles that we're going into and to break us out of the repressed cycle that humanity's been in for thousands and thousands of years. So a lot of the beings that are benevolent, they're not just going to, land in front of Buckingham Palace. They're not going to land in front of the White House unnecessarily. They're going to show themselves in the sky a lot. They're going to allow themselves to be captured on film for a couple moments, knowing, hey, look, this human's going to upload it to Instagram. We'll drop the thought in their head over and over, and we'll help for people to see us that way. And okay, let's make it so that we have some ETs run over here, like the situation in Las Vegas that happened last year, where that family ended up seeing them and having the craft. We have a lot of situations like that happening around the world too, because a lot of the benevolent ETs are trying to make it so humans can't deny the fact that they're actually present and that our governments aren't being fully truthful with us. And that's why we're seeing a big shift, even with how the governments are interacting with us. It's really quite interesting. 10 years ago, the thought of disclosure would have been completely difficult for most humans to comprehend, whereas now I think that percentage is actually really shifted. Most people are starting to feel more comfortable with it.
All right. Are you surprised that more people are starting to feel comfortable? Because we do
Yeah.
know that the population is starting to really warm up to the idea that
Yeah.
UFOs and ET contact are real. I believe last study I heard was over 60% of Americans now believe that
Good.
aliens and contact are real. So, I mean, how does that kind of work out with
Mm.
those who are actually experiencing things? Because, like we talk about, some situations are great, others are complete nightmares.
Well, yeah, that is true. A lot of situations can be very challenging, Dave, and very frustrating for a lot of people. Even when I've talked to some of my best friends about their contact, they don't want to go to the public about this. They don't even want to talk to their families about it for fear of ridicule, judgment. And I don't blame them. I really don't. But if you look at most people who come to to the public and or even just to their friends and family and say, "Hey, look, I had an extraterrestrial experience," they'll tell you to get your head examined. They'll initially think you're crazy or you're on drugs or you're having a mental breakdown, especially if they're not mentally prepared themselves to accept it or if they're very focused on a certain religion, they'll have a harder time. So for a lot of people, coming forward can mean isolation and the abandonment of their families or even losing their job. Now, I bring that up in relation to this because with 60% of people saying that they are willing to believe that extraterrestrials exist, that is a huge leap in the right direction. It also means that people like myself and you and Melinda Leslie and everyone else who's going through contact is more likely to be accepted for what we experience, even if it's 15 or 20 years down the road. Makes it easier for our kids too.
Are we ready?
Not necessarily, not if it's done the wrong way. That's why we're seeing a huge push by the benevolent extraterrestrials and multidimensionals to make it so humans feel comfortable with this situation. That way, our governments aren't putting a negative spin on it, a fear based one. Think of that one quote by, I believe it was President Nixon, if I'm not mistaken, who said it would only take an outside force from not on this planet to unite us. I know I'm butchering the quote, that's within the introduction of your show, but he does bring up a good point. That is all it would take to bring a new world order and a one world government fully into occupation on this planet and to be able to rule with an iron fist. And
Right.
so
Yeah.
that is not what these beings want. They want us to go the opposite direction of it. They would like to see us dissolve currency. They'd like to see us all have medical and dental and housing and food. For a lot of their species, it doesn't make sense the fact that we deny other humans these basic rights, the rights they have on the planet they live.
Makes a lot of sense. All right,
Yeah.
let's go over to, let's see here. Sovereign, what are your suggestions to have them, the ETs, not intervene at all in one's life?
You're certainly welcome to try. I know some people claim and might be able to actually help you with that. I have found for myself, it doesn't matter what I do, mine does not go away. But I know Misha Johnston talks a lot about how she was able to cut her contracts and to have her contact be greatly diminished, if not eliminated altogether. And that's Misha Johnston's Starseed Awakening. You can find her online. Blonde lady, really sweet. You love Misha. I love Misha. Um, so some people do break their contract on a soul level, but there are repercussions that come to doing stuff like that. If you are working with good beings who are taking care of you and helping to keep your health better, removing environmental toxins from your body and preventing cancers, autoimmune diseases, and things like dementia, heart disease, whatever, then if you cut that soul contract, you don't get those benefits anymore. So to me, that's not necessarily worth it, given how polluted our environment is now.
Okay, let's move on to UFO guy. The
Hmm.
bipedal entities combined with felines or canines travel in groups on these craft.
Yes, some do. And I know of feline bipedals that refer to themselves as Lyrans, saying they're one of two groups that originated in Lyra. On their planet was a lot of bipedal felines, and on the other planet is where the humans came from. They call it the cradle of the earth, the human civilization. So yes, there are a lot of feline entities and canine entities. I haven't had the pleasure of interacting with the canine entities at this time.
How often do you hang out with them?
The felines, only see them maybe once or twice a year. They interact more with one of my children than they do with me. They're part of their soul family, not mine.
Spider grandmother wants to know, have you ever met giant spiders?
Only once. And the only time I met giant spiders was when I was helping my sister do a past life regression. And I was looking through from the eyes of a spirit guide who was looking at, it's almost like, how can I explain this? They are on Mars, which sounds like a very weird thing to say. And from what they showed, they were large arachnids that were brown in color and lived under the surface in the caves. And they were giant. They were probably like the size of like a Volkswagen bug. These things looked very big.
I've only seen one giant spider,
Yeah.
and that was in ghost form or
Okay.
in dark shadow form.
Mm-hmm.
Merle and I actually saw it in the barn at the
Oh,
108 Mile Heritage
yeah.
site right by the jail cell on the
Yeah.
bottom. And
Interesting.
this thing was about 6 feet long, 8 feet long
Yeah.
on the ceiling crawling, and it scared the daylights out of us.
Yeah. I believe it. The one I saw, like when I was looking through the eyes of this guide as it was watching my sister, because this was one of her previous lifetimes, was on Mars. It looked like it was like coming through the cave, and it, judging by its size, I would attribute it to being like the size of like a Volkswagen bug. It looked quite big and quite scary to me. And it's like 'cause I had a previous fear of spiders, so it made me a little more uncomfortable. I think they're beautiful. I definitely appreciate them more now than I did 10 years ago.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay, let's move on to Sovereign again.
Mhm.
Elaborate on alien orchestrated gang stalking techniques. Gang stalking victims report break ins and having their stuff moved around. Is this being done interdimensionally, portaling into homes?
Okay, so interesting perspective. I wouldn't have thought of it as an orchestrated gang stalking technique. And the only reason I say it that way is they don't tend to move a lot of stuff around in my house. They tend to come in, interact with the humans that they need to interact with and leave, or come in and take the people that they need to take and leave. They don't tend to fluff our pillows or move stuff around, which is fine. So I don't think they typically come in just to move stuff and break in that capacity. They normally come in with a purpose, quite commonly to interact with their contactees. Dave,
I've never,
I'm trying to understand this question better. And am I missing
yeah,
part of
I,
like understanding this?
I think you hit it. I think you hit the nail on the head there.
Okay.
Yeah, I really do think you hit the nail on the head there. And yeah,
Hmm.
it was a difficult question, but
Mhm.
I know he's not one for the sovereign in our chat room isn't one
Yeah.
for ETs or the contact that comes along with it. Thinks it's more nefarious than than
Yeah.
something that could be positive. But
I actually appreciate him coming at it from that perspective because I think it's good for everyone to evaluate any of their beliefs, be it religion, contact, whatever, and be able to look at them and try to understand the reason why they perceive it to be that way and to look at it from the opposite perspective.
I think it's great
Yeah.
too. I mean, look, there are many sides to this mystery that we're all trying to solve at once,
And
and it's a
yeah.
hard, difficult subject to do that with.
Well, Sovereign, they do use portals to come into their homes and come into like our homes. That is quite normal for them. I've seen that with the Arcturians in particular. They look like they're very, very similar to the Greys. They're tall white, they have glowing eyes. Often they'll be like a glowing tropical sea blue or like a glowing ruby red. They have like a slight auric color that has like that soft blue, very similar to like that whitey blue essence behind you, Dave, with that little alien guy. He's super cute. Um, it's kind of like that, how it's got like the glow around the body. And they use portals that they will transport people on and off craft with. That's like it's like walking through a doorway from your room to onto a craft and back. So if you're looking at the portaling aspect, yeah, I can see why you're looking at that part, but I don't think gang stalking is really a fair way to put it because that has a very negative connotation. Some of these beings are quite nice. They've been great healers, a lot of them, and wonderful friends of mine. They've healed my body of countless ailments and really baffled my doctors over the last 20 years as to why my body looked like it was developing cancer in my on my cervix or in my breast. And here it is like completely gone within like 1 month, and there's like no sign of there being anything other than a perfectly healthy body. And I know that's related to contact. So I don't think it's fair to call it pure negative. I really don't.
All right, let's go to UFO guy. What's your view on the current state of disclosure?
I honestly don't know much about the current state of disclosure UFO guy, and the reason being is I don't like to actually listen to other people's opinions about where they see this going. Disclosure is such a slow moving thing that I wish that it would just happen already so that my I'm just gonna be really blunt. If you have contact and you have children, if your children have contact, it is best to tell your children don't talk to anyone about it. Yes, call it your special friends or call it, whatever the hell you want to call it when they're small. But as soon as they start going to school, don't let your kids tell people about it. Because if they do and they let it slip, even though our society is quite progressive, they will make your children feel like shit about it. And so I don't tend to actually look at the whole disclosure aspect and pay attention to it because it just makes me irritated that normal people don't understand it yet. I'm sorry, but it does.
All right, let's continue on here with questions from our audience tonight. And we are moving on to Sovereign again. What does it
Mhm.
mean when biolocating in a dream, meaning that you go from one place to another without remembering what happened in between?
That doesn't sound like bilocating. That sounds like your soul is astral projecting. To bilocate is to have conscious awareness in two or more locations simultaneously. So, for instance, Sovereign, if you were to be able to be in your room right now and then also be beside me and be able to turn your head and look around and move and have full conscious awareness in both simultaneously, that would be bilocating. But for you to go from one location in your dream world to being in another location is spontaneous teleportation, which is what almost all of us experience when we are dreaming. Dreams aren't necessarily what you think they are. When your soul leaves your body, you can travel to lower dimensional worlds that occupy the same space as ours, and you can go to higher dimensional ones, and you can travel anywhere in this universe or any other universe simply by thinking about it. And if, for instance, you can go from being in the past to being in the future just as easily. You can go from here to the Pleiades just as quickly in the blink of an eye. It's just a matter of your consciousness leaving one location and suddenly arriving at the next. It's very
Perfect.
simple.
Do a follow-up. Please elaborate on how dolphins have data uploaded into them by ETs.
Okay, that's a very interesting way to perceive it. Dolphins are a very telepathic and very psychic being, as are many of the animals on this planet. Looking at octopuses, looking at cats, looking at a lot of animals like that are very psychically focused. And so they also can have contact with these beings as well. I don't believe dolphins are actually from here. I really don't. And the only reason I have that perspective is when I've had astral encounters on Sirius, I've seen a lot more dolphins there that look happier and freer and in better communication with the beings that are there. And it feels like that's more their home world and like they're visiting here. They do have communication with extraterrestrials and multidimensionals. They are able to receive telepathic downloads from them. And it's very similar to how a telepathic download would happen for you, Sovereign, if you were to have communication with an extraterrestrial or a multidimensional. They would simply think about you and your energetic signature, and it's like tapping in. And as soon as they do that, it's the same thing any psychic does when they go to read you. They tap into your unique vibrational signature, and upon doing so, form a telepathic link. From there, they can give information to the dolphins or anyone else. It's very simple. It's like a telephone call.
Let's go back to UFO guy. Is bloodletting, could that be a part of the UFO experience? Like when we were talking about nosebleeds?
Oh, it very well could be UFO guy. I mean, that makes perfect sense. A lot of times when people have nosebleeds, it can be from very intense telepathic communication going on, afterwards having it coming from one side or the other. It can also happen when you have an implant placed up within your nasal cavity or even going up towards the brain. That is a very common way for implants to be put up there. As to why they put them in the nose, I'm not entirely certain, but some implants are more prone to being physical and other ones are more prone to being energetic. The difference being, of course, some you can be found within teeth, other ones can be found, yes, up the nose. But I've heard of people having implants in their ear, as was the case for a good friend of mine. I have one that's at my hip that I've been able to see for years. It's a really weird one. So yes, bloodletting could be part of it, depending upon which group is dealing with it. Chances are, if you're having blood, this is a species that is closer in vibration to our own. So the physical density of their world is more likely to be closer to ours because they're using physical implants, not ethereal or energetic.
All right, let's go.
Mhm.
Do we have time for Maureen's question?
Mhm.
Let's sneak it in here. 30 seconds. Maureen wants to know if seeing red lasers is a thing reported with abductions. Asking for a friend.
I don't know, Maureen. I've never heard about this red laser thing. Dave, what is she making reference to?
I would assume that it would be that before she goes,
Hmm.
red lasers seem to light up all over the place. Kind of like you get
Um,
butterflies, maybe?
Maybe. Like, Maureen, could you do a secondary question with a bit more explanation? I'm very curious about this. I haven't heard about it, but I'm curious about it.
That is very interesting
Yeah.
indeed. Samantha Mowat, we have her for another 30 minutes here on
Yeah.
Spaced Out Radio. We're going to continue with audience questions. What it's like to have extraterrestrial contact is the topic du jour.
Yeah.
Spaced Out Radio continues
Yeah.
right after this. So stay tuned. We will be right back.
Mhm.
All right.
You've got good music.
I do have good music.
Mm-hmm.
I do.
Yeah.
Pix, I'll get to your question here in a little bit. Thank you.
Do you want me to not answer this one yet?
Don't answer that one yet.
Okay, I'll wait.
That'll be our next question. And Aaron, what's happening, man? So many Aarons come in this group.
What is Aaron?
Aaron?
Oh, that makes more sense. Thank you.
You got the double A? Aaron?
Yeah, got it.
Ukrainian Anita, nice to see you. Oh, look who's here.
Mhm.
Merle. Merle is here.
Hey, Merle.
Don't you worry, never fear. The Merly bird will soon be here.
I like that. That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Making his presence.
Oh,
That's
we
what he
got a car or a little truck maybe coming through. That's cute. Nice.
It's like a Jeep.
Okay. Nice. I like it. It's a good picture.
Mm-hmm. Draculticon, how you doing, man? Good to see you.
Dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ozzy Ange, all excited. Merle's in the house. You should have seen it, Samantha, at our last fan party.
Yeah.
Okay. We're literally getting ready to go into the VIP section, and me and Merle walk up, and
Nice.
there's all these people standing there. And Merle shows up, and the entire area of the casino starts yelling, Merle! It was awesome.
That is good. I like it.
Oh, yeah. You know, you literally saw his head go. Yep.
That's good. I think he needed it. Merle's a sweetheart. Yeah.
Yes. Love the Merle. Hey, Made in
Mhm.
USA, Davey, thank you. Let me say hello, thank you to Davey with a hat trick of super chats, Pix with a hat trick of super chats, Louie with 2, T-Bone, and Mama Catherine and Catfish, and W. Decker. Thank you for the love and support, guys. Very much appreciated. Made in the USA, how you doing? Blue Cruise, good to see you. And you doing okay? A little bit of mic.
No, I should have worn my glasses. That's all. We're good.
I'll give you mine.
Very nice. I'd look very good in those. But no, I just forgot mine.
Little Marky Spender is also tuned in.
Nice.
You've met Mark.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, he's hoping to hang out with us on Saturday night when you're here.
Sounds like fun. I can see you before and after. Yeah. Okay, I'll text you.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Cool.
Yeah, because I have my course until.
Yeah.
Thank you again, Davey. I have my course until like 3:30.
Yeah, I've got another game after that one. So.
Yeah, we'll all sit in the rink.
Nice. You'll be able to find me. I'll have a blanket. So.
Go up in the heaters. It's warmer in there.
Oh, I will. I will definitely find heaters.
Saturday night's a big night for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Big night.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nicole.
Mm-hmm.
Do I need another, Davey? That's up to you, my man. I never asked for them. Never have, never will.
Mm-hmm.
Totally up to you.
Mm-hmm.
Time traveler.
Nice.
Thank you, my man.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be fun. I wouldn't mind doing more camping this summer and seeing if we can get some really interesting beings coming forward. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
I know a place.
Okay.
I know a place. I want to set up trailers at the. Thank you, T-Bone. Holy cow, you guys! You guys are.
Thank you.
And Davey again. Holy cow, guys! Like, what's up with you guys?
Totally appreciate it.
Yeah, Jim Morris, how you doing? Davey again. Thank you. Wow.
You know, Dave, we could see if people want to come on out and see if we can get some beings to come out for like a fun version of like a CE whatever. Like that could be a good thing to do and just do it for free.
Yeah.
Why not?
Let's plan a weekend after
yeah.
It would have to be August.
Yeah,
have
as
to.
long as it's not the end of August, like not the last week or two. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll set that up. Whoever wants to come up camping, first first five.
Sure.
First five.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Oh, sorry.
We'll figure it out for this summer. All
Yeah.
right, we got like 8 seconds. And here we go, everybody. Here we go with the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. I want to have a reminder for all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/spaced out radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Let us continue on with Samantha Mowat. We have her until the top of the hour here on Spaced Out Radio. And hey, let's have some fun here. We're taking audience questions, and we're going to continue with that right now. Hi, Samantha. How you doing?
Hey, Dave. I'm good. Thank you.
I'm good too. So let's continue on here. Let's go to UFO Man. Our fluid leaking from us might be a sign of raising our vibrational frequency.
I don't necessarily think so, UF whistleblower. And the only reason why I think that is if you are doing things that are increasing your vibrational frequency, you're more likely to have more psychic phenomenon happening or a decrease in your appetite and craving higher vibrational food, not necessarily having fluid leaking from different orifices. No, I don't think that is necessarily one. Sorry.
Okay. Let's go to Ange in Australia. Samantha, what
Yeah.
about low blood pressure after a contact experience?
Actually, Ange, that's a really good one. I think that is more likely for most people to have a lower blood pressure situation happening, especially if you are someone who is more like accustomed to contact, because they do have their vibe, like the frequency on craft is very different than the frequency here. I find that my blood pressure as a whole tends to stay more on the low side, but I do notice I'm more prone to dizzy spells or nearly fainting after prolonged periods of being on craft. So yeah, low blood pressure does make sense to me. Sorry, tripping over my tongue.
Continuing, let's go to Pix. We're going to have two from him. If you simply assert your personal sovereignty, it accomplishes a bunch. You have rights.
No. Oh my goodness. Okay, so Pix, I love that. I love how you're trying to be very helpful with that and trying to assist people in stopping some of the negative contact. I totally love it and I appreciate it. But in some of my experiences with a few of these different species, it did not matter if I told them, no, don't do this, I don't want to go, didn't stop them. I've tried invoking everyone from Jesus to Buddha to God to Source, Prime Creator, you name it, Allah, whoever I could think of, Mother Mary, all of them. It did not stop it. I have found the only things that can really prevent a contact situation from happening is if you are someone who is an energy worker, let's say you do hands of light, quantum touch, Reiki, any of that, and you start to draw massive amounts of energy into either your heart chakra and expand it outwards, or you use it as a weapon and you draw it to your hands and you throw it at them, is the only ways that I've really been able to find a contact experience can be stopped. Alternatively, if you do one thing like I did, which I actually kind of regret doing, last year, I think I've mentioned previously on your show, Dave, I had a few different beings coming to take me and they were taking my kids. I didn't like them. I didn't recognize them. I didn't like their vibration. I took one of my snow shovels and hit one across the head.
Oh,
And you're probably thinking, what the fuck, Samantha? But I didn't feel safe with them. and I didn't want them. They were taking my kids and I through our door, going into like our driveway type thing, and I knew they were more physical in nature. And because I knew this was a physical experience, not an astral one, and I couldn't draw energy to me, and I didn't feel safe with them. I didn't feel safe with them near my kids because these ones did not feel nice. I don't know about you, Dave, but I've got a bunch of shovels at my driveway because we're always shoveling our driveway typically. And when I walked there, I grabbed one without thinking and I just hit the being. They were not nice to me. I know, you're just so embarrassed. But pigs, it doesn't matter if you tell them you don't want to go. If they want you to go, you're going to go. And that caused some really bad cervical issues for me for months afterwards. It really was not nice. Like I had really bad pain in my cervix for quite literally months after because these beings were mean to me for that experience. You're thinking, well, of course, Samantha, you hit them, but they were taking us without our consent and I didn't know who they were. So, so last year or the year before? Oh my goodness, years are flying by.
I really don't know, but all I do know is, I mean, first you become a hockey mom. Now you're taking a snow shovel, using it like a hockey stick and cross-checking them in the head.
Yeah.
Oh, you're getting
You've
more
never
beautiful.
been more proud.
You're getting more beautiful by the day, my dear. More
Thank
beautiful
you.
by the day.
But
Oh,
you have to, but Pix, I want you to be careful if you guys are having contact experiences because if you piss off the wrong being, they will be mean to you. They will be they won't do the kind of things like we talked about earlier, where they put the fingers over top of here and they prevent the pain like from being stopped. You're not processing it, so your brain's actually allowing for that to be sensed. They will have you have pain with this. And they won't give two shits if they're mean. Some of the nice ones, they will put you back, but if they're nice enough to put you back, chances are you wanted contact with them anyways. And I want you to look at it that way.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay, let's get to another question from
Sure.
Pix here. And what gives these unannounced potential vandals the right to do nefarious stuff? Seems lawless as hell. Soul contracts seems like toothless.
Well, some of these beings, from what has been explained to me, are abducting us fully without our consent, without having, it's actually viewed as being a violation of humanity's sovereignty, not just for the individuals, but also to an extent, some of the beings are abducting us because of our governmental contracts, which means our governments have sold the right for certain humans or not as like relevant humans, i.e., not their family, not their friends, not their community. So people that they deem to be more, I guess, disposable, you, me, so on and so forth. And they give these ETs permission to abduct a certain amount of us in exchange for technologies, which is problematic for us. And unfortunately, the benevolent ETs aren't willing to really step in and stop this because they can't really do much as it stands without coming in and kind of taking over our governments, kind of taking over and having their presence being much more known, which as a whole, the majority of humanity has not allowed for them to do so. And so they can't intervene until that is done. So it is pretty spineless that they can't stop the bad ones, I agree. But when it comes to soul contracts, that has been a bit of a saving grace for people like me who have contact, pardon me. If you're someone going through contact, we're being used for your hybridization, we're being used for your teaching and everything else, you can actually have a lot of stress be placed on the body, especially if you're gone for prolonged periods of time. If you look at most contactees that are out there and you look at the amount of them that have autoimmune diseases, if they're dealing with negative beings, especially if they're going through black ops situations, or the ones who develop cancers, the ones who develop problems like that, more long-term, more complicated health conditions, if they do not have really good benevolent contracts in place with some of the nicer beings, they don't get the regular healing. And so that's where we see these long-term health problems coming up for contactees who also go through black op contact experience not being healed. So some of the soul contracts are to your benefit if you're going through this.
Okay, let's move on here. Let's go to SG. What do you know about those sleeping chambers?
What is a sleeping chamber? I might know it by another word, but I don't know what a sleeping chamber is.
I think when you go up in craft,
Yeah.
okay, and they kind of put you in a room, much like
Okay.
Travis Walton was in like a
Okay.
sleeping chamber.
Oh, like a pod type thing. The only bits that I know about sleeping chambers are the ones that I have when I go into rooms on craft. And so the ones that I've been in are typically quite small, very minimally furnished. You might have like a bed, you might have a small desk, or you might have a chair. They're very simplistic typically. On occasion, they have bunk beds, but not very often. Typically, there's just one. And when I've had that happen, it's because I'm on craft for a much longer period of time, days, weeks, months, that type of situation. I don't often get put into pods, which I've seen some people have, but I haven't had that situation. More so, I find you have more energy when you're on craft than you do down here. So you don't really spend as much time sleeping and resting. I don't have a lot of memories of going through that. I've seen more of the bedrooms when it comes to breeding than I have for just resting.
Very understandable.
Yeah.
Very understandable. Okay, let's continue on here. Let's go over to our friend Aaron. What do UFO dreams mean? Dreaming of interacting with a UFO?
Well, Aaron, when it comes to situations like that, I want for you to look at this dream, and I would like for you to actually write it all out completely for yourself. And then you're going to look at it and be like, does this seem like a memory that's playing out, or does it seem like it's just my mind visualizing a UFO? So you could be thinking a lot about a craft before you go to bed, but more likely you're actually having suppressed memories starting to come to the surface. And for a lot of contactees in the initial part of their awakening experience to recalling their contact experiences, they will have dreams of UFOs or seeing sections of the ET, as we talked about earlier this evening. And so it might be beneficial for you to go explore regressive hypnosis to see if you do have a contact experience that's going to come to the surface, and that is what this is indicating.
Okay, let's move
Yeah.
on. Let's go to Robin.
Pardon me.
She's asking, waking up with bruises and around abdomen, back of arms, legs or on forehead. What does this mean?
Um, it could be an indication of contact. You'd have to look at what it was like for you the night before, Robin. When you're looking at these bruises in particular, do you ever notice things like puncture marks on you? Do you ever notice like they're often like a purpley red kind of color, very similar to like a Chardonnay wine type stain, where it's like a little bit purple, a little bit red. If you're noticing stuff like that in accompaniment with these bruises, then it could be an indication of contact. And you have to look at the shape and the sizing of the bruises. If you're waking up with bruises where it looks like you've got like a couple of really long fingers kind of like that were holding you down, then yeah, it could very well be contact. But if you're noticing that they're just completely round or irregular shape bruise, or pardon me, if you're noticing irregular shape bruises, I think it's more likely you hit something and don't recall it. If they're, let's say, perfectly round or there's a pattern with them, then I'd be more inclined to think contact.
It's always about contact. Always about them aliens in contact, Samantha. Always. All
There's a
right.
lot more people having contact, Dave, than realize. There really is.
Very true. Paramarv wants to know, is there
Mhm.
any significance to the triangular shape of wounds on experiencers?
It just has to do with some of the technology they're using for healing typically. If you were to look at it, it's typically one that comes down from the ceiling, like because a lot of the craft has tools that are actually embedded in the ceiling. You'll see them very commonly with mantises, the grays, the tall whites, things of that nature. And it's almost like the device comes down, they pull it from the ceiling will opens up, they pull it down, it's almost like it's on a cord, and they tend to just go very quickly. It's almost like an injection quite commonly. That's the thing I've noticed the most with ones like that. That's also where we see people having almost like 4 dots in a square or 3 very distinct dots in a row, less than 2 inches apart, like almost like within a 2 inch span, having 3 dots. And same with having ones where it's like that perfect circle that has a dot in the middle as well.
How often are these popping up? I've never seen one. I've seen
Oh, I'll send you
pictures.
some pictures. Next time I have one, I'll send you a picture, I guess, or a video chat. It's probably my best bet because you're kind of a few hours away there.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Camping.
Yeah.
Let's go to Vancouver Island where Sandra is asking, do they favor any certain type of hair color or is it just certain bloodlines?
They actually, like, one thing I found, Sandra, is that there is contact happening to every single race of humans on this planet, every hair color, every skin color. Doesn't matter, it's happening across the board. Different species, however, have more of an invested interest within certain genetic and physical traits, which can coincide with hair colors and like bloodlines in particular. So you might notice that for a lot of the contactees, there's a very common aspect for them to be of the Rh negative bloodline, and they're more likely to breed with people that have the same bloodline. I have found, oh yeah, that'd be cute, right? I have found that when it comes to stuff like that, the people that I get bred with, they are typically Caucasian, and they are typically like the ones that I've met, because I've actually met about 5 or 6 of the men that I have met up on craft and encountered them in one way or another here on Earth within the last 10 years and became friends with them. And all of them are either Caucasian or Caucasian and Aboriginal mix. Those are the more common ones that I get bred with. But when it came to my clients and asking them, because I have clients that are Asian that have contact, African ancestry, ones that are Aboriginal, and even Hispanic, like every single race. I kid you not, it's happening to everybody all around the world. But there are different groups that are more interested in certain bloodlines. That's why we notice a lot of reptilian traits and a lot more reptilian interference when it comes to things like the nobility and royal bloodlines on this planet, because they like to interbreed with their own.
All right, let's continue on with
Sure.
Amy. Percentage wise, negative to positive experiences.
Maybe 30-40% negative to 60-70% positive. Majority for me are neutral to positive. I'm pretty
Okay.
happy about my overall percentages.
I'd say you're
Yeah,
pretty bang on that. Let's go to
I think
John.
so.
Can aliens have sex like Homo sapiens? Will they
Yes.
have sex if requested?
So, John, let's say you have the pleasure of going up on a craft. If you were to have sex with an ET, you're most likely to have sex with a hybrid. You are like, well, come on, Samantha, I want to have sex with these gorgeous Palladians that I hear about. But chances are, John, they would not be as sexually attracted to you and I than rather than their own kind. And the reason I say that is they have more, what's a nice way to put it? Compared to them, we're ugly is the nicest way I can put it, to be honest with you. They have more facial symmetry, they have more genetic symmetry, whereas the hybrids tend to find us to be very enjoyable to have sex with. Some of the reptilians enjoy having sex with us. The graves, not so much. Arcturians, not so much. Mantis, no. The same when it comes to like the light beings, the higher dimensional beings, no interest whatsoever in any sexual activity. But the hybrids that have some hair, that have the large eyes, they tend to really enjoy having sex with humans.
Beautiful.
It can
Beautiful.
be.
Make sweet love to Barry White
Mhm.
by the fire with an alien tonight.
Oh my God.
You can make it happen.
I'm not asking anyone to.
All right.
That'd be
You're done
funny.
with audience questions here for now, as we got about 6 minutes to go for break
Yeah.
at the top of the hour. I want to ask you,
Mm,
with the idea that
mm,
I'm not sure of this answer. Okay.
okay.
I'm still not sure. Why do they cut certain people off? Like all of a sudden you're being taken and then all of a sudden you're not.
Well, there's a lot of reasons, and you're not necessarily going to like them. Depending upon their intentions for you, Dave, you could be born into a bloodline like mine. But let's say you develop a drug addiction, whether it's a medication that the doctor prescribes to you, where you're taking that, which is now making it so that you're not good for breeding, they'll cut you off. Let's say that you develop an alcohol addiction, or you're just drinking too frequently, a couple times a week even. A lot of them don't like that. They want to interact with you because you're throwing off your vibration. So they'll cut you off for that reason. If you are someone who is reacting very negatively to a lot of your contact, if when they knock you out, you're still reacting violently, they'll cut you off and deal with other humans instead. Same with if you're showing signs of mental instability or if you're showing signs of psychic instability. So, what psychic instability is if you're having really clear psychic moments and then you're having very low psychic moments and you're kind of going back and forth, and it's very difficult to communicate with you, and a lot of miscommunications happening, and you're becoming afraid, they'll cut you off. Same with if you're just realistically not what they're looking for. They can end up choosing to move in a different direction. There's they're like us in a lot of ways, where if they find you to be useful or enjoyable, they will continue interaction. But if they don't, then they don't.
When you say continued interaction,
Yeah.
come into my house, sit down, let's share a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I got some orange juice. Tell me about your day. That's what I think of with interaction. Why would it
Mhm.
be different for extraterrestrials?
They're not going to eat the toxic earth food. They barely even like coming here half the time. Dave, let's say you were these beings and you're abducting, let's say, 20,000 humans every year. That's what your group is abducting roughly. And with, let's say, 10% of those humans, you're looking through their eyes, like their eyes are cameras. You're seeing everything they're going through, their day-to-day life here on Earth, what their job's like. You're seeing every detail of their world. And you're having all that information upload onto craft. Pardon me, recovering from that cold. And why would it be in your best interest or something that you chose to do to go down and see a human who isn't showing a life that is outside of what is average and what is ordinary and expected of humans, knowing that that human cannot provide you with information that you don't already have access to? Why would you choose to spend your time that way? Why would you go out of your way to have physical contact in the daytime, unprotected, and hang out with that human for a prolonged period of time in their home? What benefit would it serve you? It wouldn't, so you wouldn't do it. Most of them are very logical, very intelligent.
Where do they come from?
Depends on the species. From what I've noticed, we've got everything from Orion, Mintaka, we've got ones that are Syrian, we've got Pleiadians, we've got them literally coming from like literally everywhere. I kid you not, there's a lot more life in this universe very close to us than what people are realizing. Most of which are coming from these same locations, but on a different dimensional plane and using technology to come here. So as I've discussed with you previously, you could go to Mars, you could go to the Pleiades, and you might not see them because they're actually there, but on a different vibration.
Very understandable. Final question from our audience tonight goes to Amy.
Okay.
How much of a factor is age for aliens leaving you alone?
Amy, I had my grandmother die last year, and this woman was in her 80s. She lives with one of her sons who is in his mid-60s. They are still having physical contact to this day, and they don't leave them alone. And it doesn't matter where in the world you go. It doesn't matter if you have guns in your house or German shepherds or if you have swords or any of that. It makes no difference at all. When you are in these followed bloodlines, if you are in one, you are in this from birth till death. You can't shut it down. You just can't. I have aunts and uncles that have tried. They've tried through addiction even, and because of the beings that are dealing with them, they still heal them, they still take care of them because they still have an invested interest in them. So for most people, those factors can disqualify you, but not for everybody.
All right, we have 1 minute to go here on
Sure.
Spaced Out Radio. Samantha Mowat, our guest tonight, and she will be back in April
Yeah.
on the 15th for our 10th anniversary friendship party. We're going to do it
We'll have
then.
cupcakes.
Yes. Will you get cupcakes and scones, and I'll bring the
Hmm.
coffee? How about that?
Sounds good.
Where can people find you?
Oh, www.samanthamowat.ca is the easiest way to reach me. If you email me and I don't get back to you, it's not personal. Try it again. The amount of people who contact me, for some reason, they go to my junk folder instead of my normal one, isn't even funny. And if you are really wanting to contact me and you can't get a hold of me through email, give me a call or send me a text. I've got my phone number on my website.
I love it. Samantha,
Yeah.
it's always a pleasure to have you here on Spaced Out Radio. You're not only a great guest, but you're a very
Yeah.
magical and loving friend of mine and my family's as well. So, all the best to you in 2024, my dear.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
We'll see you in about 9 days. Samantha Mowat, Spaced Out Radio. Coming up next, Steve Stockton from Among the Missing. Then Robin Haynes comes in for the Cryptid Report. Lots of the show. coming up next, right after the whistle. All right, we're clear.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave. That was fun.
Yes,
I'll,
I
hmm,
give you a call tomorrow,
cool.
and I
Hmm.
love that idea. We need to talk
Yeah.
about that, about maybe inviting some of our listeners up here.
Yeah.
And
Invite the ones that you feel are really good and loyal to you. The ones that have been with you for years that you love and trust. I'm all for it.
yep. And what we'll do
Cool.
is we'll set up all the camping stuff. All you
Yeah,
got to do is get here,
that's easy.
and
Yeah.
we'll have a weekend of camping at the Bigfoot site where UFOs have been seen. Samantha
Mhm.
hasn't even been there yet.
No, it'll be fun. I'm sure we can get some nice beings out. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. All right,
Okay.
Sam.
Hey, guys.
Love you, dear.
Bye.
Take care. All right. Ooh, Robert McRae just showed up. Be right back, guys. All right. That was a good show so far. Thurston Howell III, how are you? Donovan, does it hurt when Dave sits on you chair? No. That's why I got a big sturdy one. Fill my body and my ego. Thank you tonight to the plethora of super chatters, especially Davey and Pix and Time Travel, T-Bone, Louie, Mama Catherine, Catfish, W. Decker, Phase Will. Wow. Thank you very much tonight, guys. Very much appreciate the love. Very much so. All right. We got about 10 seconds, and we're going to launch the next half hour.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Please join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Faience. Faience is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. It is that time of the night where we say hello to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing and Another Creepy Story.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. Joe Halpern, a 22-year-old graduate student from Chicago, along with his best friend's brother, Sam Garrick, reached the summit of Flat Top Mountain in Rocky Mountain National Park on August 15, 1933, as Aaron Udell of the Coloradoan reported. The pair were on a western road trip with Halpern's parents, Solomon and Fanny. Udell said they traveled up through South Dakota before ending their trip with camping and hiking in Rocky Mountain National Park. Udell writes that after Joe and Sam summited Flat Top Mountain, Joe wanted to continue hiking toward Taylor Peak. Sam decided to head back, so they went their separate ways around 2:30 p.m. and planned to meet back at the Bear Lake Trailhead, Udell said. Sam got there at 6:30 p.m. and waited. 3 hours passed without a sign of Joe, so he called for a ranger. Udell said a search started that night around 10 p.m., with rangers taking electric lights into the area. Days went by without any sign of Joe. According to Udell, Joe was last seen wearing a white and blue striped shirt, khaki pants, and heavy boots. He carried a small backpack containing a few sandwiches, fruit, and a 1933 guidebook for motorists visiting the Rocky Mountain National Park. The weather conditions that week included 40-degree nights, rain, and windstorms. After 6 days of searching, Udell said Sam Garrick wrote a letter to his brother, Isidore, in Chicago. I've got some tragic news. Joe Halpern disappeared in the mountains last Tuesday, and nothing has been heard of him since. The last couple of days have been miserable out here, with a deadly gloom prevailing. Ms. Halpern cries all night long. Udell said many theories arose about what happened to Joe, including he hit his head and suffered from amnesia. Udell said an acquaintance claimed that he saw Joe in the winter of 1933 begging for a meal outside a Phoenix restaurant. According to the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, unsubstantiated reports placed Joe in Phoenix, Arizona in December of 1934, with the Lewis Brothers Circus in Michigan in the summer of 1935, or traveling with the Civilian Conservation Corps near Alliance, Nebraska in May of 1935. Sadly, no conclusive trace of Joe was ever found, and his family believed he never made it out of the mountains. Ronald Halpern, the son of Joe's brother, Bernard Halpern, told Udell that Bernard never spoke much of his brother Joe, but did say, "Don't go hiking alone, because that's what happened to my brother," and he disappeared. Know before you go. If you plan to go hiking or climb in the mountains, it's crucial to research the area beforehand to ensure your safety and enhance your overall experience. Take the time to familiarize yourself with the terrain, weather patterns, and potential hazards. Keep yourself updated with the weather forecast and be prepared for sudden changes in conditions, especially in mountainous areas where unexpected storms can occur. Ensure you have appropriate gear for your activity and the conditions, like hiking boots, warm clothes, a first aid kit, a map, and a compass. It is recommended to always carry a whistle and a flashlight with spare batteries. If you get lost or hurt, these tools can be handy for calling out for help and signaling others for assistance. Inform someone about your destination and expected return time. This way, they can take necessary actions to locate you in case of unforeseen circumstances. It's crucial to recognize your capabilities and avoid exceeding your limits. If you feel unsafe, returning and attempting the task another day is best. Your safety should always be your top priority. Stay on designated trails, properly dispose of trash, and avoid disturbing wildlife.
And thank you to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing YouTube channel for giving us another creepy story to kick off hour number 3. If you want more, just go over to his YouTube channel. Make sure you hit subscribe and ring that bell so that way you know when new videos pop up. From the mysterious to the mountains. Let's go find some Bigfoot and other cryptids. Robin Haynes is here with the Cryptid Report. Happy New Year, Robin Haynes. Good to have
Happy
you back.
New Year. 2024 is going to be the best.
Well, you know what? Apparently, we're going to have a little shindig here, according to Samantha Mowat, who was on right before you, that we're going to go into our Bigfoot area this year, and we're going to invite, I don't know, maybe 5 of our listeners to come join us.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool.
We'll bring the accommodation. They just got to get up here. And for a weekend of Bigfooting and UFO sky watches.
That is awesome. I tell you, we've been having UFOs here loud and proud.
Mm-hmm.
I was in Texas for about 4 or 5 days, and I wasn't out of here 12 hours when the ships were over the house, and my son-in-law got it on film.
No kidding.
Yeah.
No. What do you think is the tie between cryptids and UFOs?
Well, a lot of people have seen them on the ships. They've actually physically seen them on the ships. And a lot of your people that work like with the secret space program and that kind of thing, when you interview them, they'll tell you that they've been seen on ships as well. You know, we do know, not on a scientific aspect, but on a regular layman's person, and most of us that are real comfortable with them, the father side is ET, in my opinion. And that's where they get a lot of the abilities that they have. So there is that connection. And then everything is energy and frequency, like we talk about all the time. And they are a high frequency, high energy being, multidimensional. The ETs are high frequency and high energy, and that's what they seek out. And so all of these cryptids and the ETs and the dimensionals and the elementals and all of these things, they hang out. And if you find one, you generally find the other. Even if they don't want to be around each other, they're drawn to each other because of that energy spike and the higher frequency. So it all just pulls in together.
Now, do you believe then that they are all related? That the UFOs are trying to how can I put it? Abduct the Sasquatch or the Dogman or other cryptids
There
as
are
well?
some. There are some. Yes. There are some that the bad ones that have been trying to get our regular Sasquatch, and I've actually witnessed them trying to do this and trying to get them on the ship. And what they're doing is replacing them with it's. I know it sounds crazy. I had to see it to believe it. It's almost like they're robotic. They don't have paranormal abilities. They can't mind speak, but they are deadly. So yeah, that's actually very true. And I got that confirmed from the Sasquatch when I spoke with them as well.
And what would they want with the Sasquatch?
They were when a lot of them were put here, they were supposed to watch us. They were supposed to report back, but there's humanity in them. They're part human. They were not going to go along with the plan. They're here to help us. They're here to nurture the land and another, more variety of reasons besides that. And they just didn't go along with what the game plan was. And so now they want them destroyed and they want them replaced with what they want.
Really?
I've
That
talked to
doesn't
several
sound.
different Sasquatch. Yeah, I've talked to several different Sasquatch on it, thinking maybe when I first heard about it, it was wrong. And everything I've talked to has confirmed it. I haven't noticed a lot of the Dogman being taken or anything like that. In my experience so far, it's just been the Sasquatch that I've noticed.
Why do you think it's one and not the other?
Well, the Sasquatch purpose when they were first put here was to watch us. We're supposed to learn from them. They were supposed to learn, from us. They were supposed to nurture the planet, maintain the planet. All these cryptids have different jobs, and that was theirs. And some of the bad ETs that helped create some of them actually wanted them to do this, and that's not what they did. They are a human hybrid, so they are part human and they are part ET, and some were naturally, made here, some were created up with the ETs, and the job they were supposed to do, they didn't fulfill. They don't want to do it. They're not turning against us as much as we actually deserve it. We're not exactly nice to them. I mean, some of us are, but that's not the normal.
All right. Went back up to our gifting site on the weekend. Unfortunately, we could get up there. And I say unfortunately because
No
usually,
snow.
yeah, well, it's starting to come. It's starting to come, which is very nice. And we need the snow bad up here. But went up there, nothing felt by anything. My buddy Mark and I, the only thing we kind of felt was up the road a little while. If we would have went up further, it felt like there was wolf energy up there.
Yeah,
Okay. Which
they
they're not.
are. I will say this, I'm kind of limited right now. More will come out later, but they are working on something. So they are very busy right now, and we better hope that they can pull it off. So as of right now, you may see where, some are still running around and, it could be a little bit scarce. There's nothing wrong. Everybody's fine. They're doing what they have to do. So if, they can pull up what they're working on, it's going to benefit them and us. So right now we just got to give them their space. They're not gone. Trust me, they're not gone. They're just getting ready for some things. It's like that, they've been quiet here for about a week. And then the last 3 or 4 nights, not tonight, but the last 3 or 4 nights, they have been running the deer out of the woods, and they run the deer all the way into my yard. The deer will come up under my windows now. And I think they're doing that so it's easier to catch them. I don't know what the deal is. They've never done that before, but that's the latest. But yeah, don't everybody panic. Everything's good. They're doing what they need to do right now. Preparing for good things.
Okay. I don't know what that means, but hey, everybody's got to prep for the winter.
When it gets a little closer, I can get into a little bit more detail right now. I'm kind of working with what they're giving me and the information they're giving me. I will say this, anybody out there that's an energy worker, get your tushy outside and start pushing it. We need positive energy. We need it put out there. And if you want to help them, that's the best way to do it.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I think it's wonderful. Okay, let's push some energy to the old Sasquatch world.
Yep, it's only going to benefit all of us right now. So, yeah, there's a lot going on behind the scenes. And like I said, right now, until I get the clear from them, I can't say a whole lot, but I will tell you that, don't anybody panic. They're around. They're not leaving. They haven't taken off. They're not hiding out underground all the time. They're doing what they need to do. And it is for the benefit of all of us.
Excellent. Excellent. So wintertime, what are they feeding on right now? Because,
They've been
obviously, is it
they've been
meat?
storing up food. Yeah, I mean, high in protein, obviously. So you're looking at deer, rabbit, fish, any kind of meat they could have gotten. They store it up before the winter. They're set. I mean, they're still going to send hunters out. They're still going to try to get that food source, but they have enough socked away that if the weather's bad, they can't get out. If they can't find anything, they're still good to go. They're going to be just fine. They will stock up plants, any kind of vegetation. They're omnivores, so they're going to eat meat, vegetables, whatever they can. You'll see moss. They'll use moss not only to help start fire, but they'll use it for warmth. Certain tree barks because of the vitamins in it. You'll see that. They used to strip the tree bark off of my trees that were white pine. They can use this for medicinal purposes. And I would catch them where they would pull it off and they would lay it over branches and let it dry. So that was always kind of weird because they did that a lot at my old house.
All right. At this time, let's not. We focus a lot on Bigfoot, the odd time dogman, but other cryptids. What are other cryptids doing in the wintertime?
They pretty much do the same thing. What people where it seems to think is that they're going to migrate. They don't. They might go to follow a food source, but that's different than migration. They are a human hybrid. I think if we were to ever get enough DNA off like cat people, goat man, whatever, I would not be surprised that you're going to find there's human in there as well. It seems to be like a split, almost like a trend, but we'll see. Dogman samples were, that hasn't been released yet, so I can't really go there with that. But they're doing the same thing. They get ready for winter. They stockpile. They hide out. They do what they got to do to stay warm. I haven't seen any sign that the dogmen have slowed down. I mean, I've got good ones around me, and they're still out and about and pretty active. So I haven't noticed that there's any slowdown with that. The cat people, I've seen them in the wintertime, so I don't think that they're going too far either.
Yeah, I always wonder that because I would think that, like, if I was a cryptid, I would be migratory with my food source.
Well, they'll send hunters. I mean, that doesn't mean the whole clan's going to move. But they will send the hunters for the clan out. If their food source looks like it's getting low, like maybe they're starting to, pull too many deer out of one area or whatever, they'll send the hunters out into different areas to get the food. They don't have a problem with that. They won't disrupt the entire clan. Now, there has been occasions where if something came into their area, the whole clan would move for a short time until that passes through, and then they'll come back to where they normally are at. But they really don't migrate. They don't. Most of your people that are hardcore as far as contactees with them, will tell you they really and truly don't migrate. It's a matter of sending the ones that are hunting for the clan to the food source.
Okay. So something, say, like a gnome
Okay.
or a gargoyle or a troll under the bridge. What would they be doing? A gnome,
They
I
would
would assume, would be living underground.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. Now, if it gets to where it's too cold for them with something like that, pop into a portal, sure, they're multidimensional. They can come and go as they please. But they do, like the little people are the same way. They have their own little perspective homes that they have, not like we have, obviously. But, they'll get caves, tunnels, whatever they need to do, go underground, have fire. They're not going to be without. And they're also not going to migrate. If it gets too bad, any of these things, if the weather were to get that severe where it was a threat to them and their survival, they just pop into a portal. All of these things go through dimensions. Like, we walk from our front porch to the mailbox. It's not a big deal for them. But they primarily just stick to where their home is.
Okay. Okay. And with that happening, what is home for them? Caves, underground? Do they
Well, I
make
think,
little huts?
yeah, they will. They'll make the little huts. They'll go to the base of the trees and like down by the roots, and they'll make places in that. They'll get in, they'll carve little spots in the tree. I know we had some that were in the backyard when we first moved here, and they had a there was a tunnel. I actually thought it was an armadillo hole, to be honest with you, till I saw something come out of it, and it looked more like a little person. So they're pretty crafty about it. Elementals are going to use things that are in the elements, obviously. And again, if it gets too bad for them, they're going to pop in that portal because they're going to move between dimensions anyway.
Right. Where's these other dimensions lead?
To begin with, our whole world is a matrix. It really and truly is a matrix, as hard as that is to believe. And there are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of different dimensions that they can go into wherever they choose to go. We have planes that are run parallel and are the same as where we're at, only in a different timeline. It's really a very complex thing. Like, that's not really what I specialize in, but what I know of it, we have parallel dimensions. We have different planes, there's rifts you can go through. I mean, there's a lot there, but it always goes down to the same thing. We live in a matrix. So there are literally hundreds, thousands of different layers that they can go. Now, when I've helped them, like, I've gotten some that have been held captive, like by the government or whatever, and I've helped get them out, and they would take off in the portals, and they had at one point asked me to go, and I said, okay, where am I going to go? Like, I don't know how to work the things. And as far as I know, from what they've said to me, it's a matter of intent, focusing on where they want to go, and they just take them where they need to be. Now, I'm sure it's probably more complex from that, but as far as what they're telling me, that's what I've been told. They said, just focus on where you wish to be, and that's where you will be.
Very strange.
I think so.
That's all.
They've tried. I mean, I've only been in a portal a couple of times, and it was a very quick experience. Unfortunately, I was fine, but they have asked me to go in them at other times. And I would say, I have kids, I have grandkids, is this safe? And they said, well, for your bodies, no. For our people, yes. Your bodies are not a higher frequency and higher energy to be able to handle it. And I do know of people that have gone in and out of them, but I think, prolonged exposure is really risky because that high frequency and that high energy does damage to our bodies. You notice a lot of researchers in this field, as well as with the ETs, get a lot of health issues, brain tumors, that kind of thing. And it comes from being around these cryptids that have the higher frequency and the higher energy. And it does cause damage. It's like when I'm out in the field and I'm working with them, and this happened just a week or so ago, the first thing I tell them is, pull the energy back. Pull it back, because my body can't handle it. And they're most of them are really good about it. Like, if I say something to it, I immediately, can sense that they have done that. Now, I've never gotten zapped so far. I've been lucky on that. But, just to be around them, like, even when they've come up and approached me, the energy is so strong off of them. And, it's like a radiation. So that's exactly how our bodies treat it.
Okay. So when we are seeing them or hanging out with these in areas where these cryptids are they always on are they always on spot where humans are?
I'm not understanding. I mean, do they show up when the humans are there? Not always. I mean, no, not always. I mean, the people that have the higher vibration and the higher energy, they can pick that up and they come in on that like a marker. But they hear the laughter, they hear the movement, they get curious. Just like, we're out there all the time. Everybody goes out in the woods and they're out searching for Bigfoot. Well, they're out searching for us too. So it's kind of like eventually you meet in the middle. There's a lot. Just because you're out in the woods does not mean you're going to have an encounter. It doesn't mean they're going to be there. They have their lives. They know what they're going to do. They're going to go around and do what they normally do for their family and the clan. And if you happen to show up in their area, then, then you're going to have that interaction. If they know that it's an area that you frequent, that you're going to be there a lot, you're going to have a bonfire, you're going to be sitting there, it's not uncommon for them to come to you. And you actually get much better interaction if you do it that way. You want positive interaction that's going to follow you through a lifetime, so you can have more experiences and more experiences. You go in there rushing around like Rambo and trying to run them down, and you're going to get the negative experience, and you're marked. They're done with you at that point.
And we are done on that note with the the Cryptid Report and our good friend Robin Haynes, who we will talk to next week. Coming up next, it's the Dave 101. I'm starting off on fire. You might have to put me out by the time I'm done. We will be right back.
Bye, sweetie.
See you. Thank you. We'll talk to you next week, Robin. You're
Okay,
amazing.
I'll be there. Love ya. Bye.
Right, Robin McRae or Haynes. Ross Dogs, how you doing? Castle Dude, what's happening? Yeah, there's going to be some fury from me next. Just saying. Just saying. Where am I here? Because I want to get set up properly. Two more people to 24,500. This 24,000 up to 25,000 really seems to be going much faster than what it has in the past. It's kind of cool. Thank you for that, people. Where am I here? It's not where I want to go. That's where I want to go. Sorry, I'm just trying to get set up for the day 101 here. Mm-hmm. All right. We're set up here. My beard is looking good. Time travel? I'm not sure either about the trolls under the bridge. But the word troll may come up in the 101. All right, about a minute here, guys. Okay, about 25 seconds, guys. Big thank you tonight to all of our super chatters, including Louie with a hat trick, T-Bone with a hat trick, Mama Catherine, Catfish, W. Decker, Pix with a hat trick, Davey with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Thank you. Time travel and Phase Will. Appreciate it very, very much. Here we go with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you for taking the time to tune us on in. If you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. It is that time of the night, that time of the week, that time of the month, and that time of the year for the Dave 101.
It's time for Dave 101.
All right, I normally don't read other people's work on this segment or on this show. And the reason why is we try and be original, we try and be funny. But imagine the idea that this show, which is built for entertainment purposes, that there are people out there who do not allow us or want us to have fun. This is serious. Yeah. Disgusting. Yeah. Stop messing around with the topics. Of course. The point that I'm getting at is we try and include everybody in here because we are sharing the multiple experiences that people have had. And of course, 90% of this, there is no evidence. But every now and again, I get a former guy I used to bring on this show, gave him credibility, gave him a name in this field. Otherwise, nobody would have known who he was. And he's become a troll. Yeah. Now, out of his own suffering and lack of bad hair, or lack of good hair, I should say, I'm not going to mention his name, but I'm going to read his blog because he decided to start off the new year. I mean, we aren't even 12 hours old into this new year, and he fires another shot my way. Now, normally I don't pay attention to it, okay, but one of my audience members in the YouTube brought it up the other day, so I thought I would bring it up to you. And for the first time, I'm actually going to debate this on the air. I don't care if he's here. I don't care if he's listening. Garbage. But this is a guy who is known to pick on people. He's picked on people like Tom Whitmore, Nicole Sackich, even our own R. Keith Andrews, who is the nicest guy in the world. He's bullied him. Yeah, all because he doesn't believe. And he hides behind the word science because he used to be a scientist. But, yeah, he doesn't do that anymore. But still hides behind the word science. So here's this blog that he writes against me. The Woo Train to Excrementville. Greetings. The woo, he puts in parentheses. One of the most damaging aspects of the UFO subculture, and by extension, the entire paranormal arena. Woo is a slang term for pseudoscientific explanations that are often too good to be true. The term is common among skeptics and some debunkers, people who adhere to the scientific method and push away from nonsensical and pseudoscientific approaches. The woo is a tool used to entertain the masses and to discourage people from conducting research into the subject matter in question to find more likely and defensible explanations. The woo has several characteristics that hold the vast majority of the time. Some are as follows: 1. Anecdotal information. Testimonials from alleged witnesses are often blindly accepted as valid and placed on the same level as tangible physical evidence. The scientific research community views anecdotal information as the weakest and least reliable form of evidence. Of course it is. But what he's forgetting to tell you is anecdotal evidence is acceptable in a court of law. Number one. Number two, it is a great starting point, according to Stanford University professor Dr. Gary Nolan, as a place to start conducting research. But he doesn't mention that because that takes away from his prerogative. Number two, pseudoscience. The woo is often framed in a scientific manner, utilizing words and phrases that sound scientific and suggest a high level of legitimacy. However, the opposite is true, with the woo possessing no scientific validity or investigative legitimacy. No, it may not have investigative legitimacy, but it needs to be investigated because that's what scientists do. They are looking for answers to these highly probable highly probable explanations that they are trying to find out from people's experiences, especially those who have had ET contact, paranormal phenomenon, or much more. So that really doesn't make sense either. But this is his prerogative to say that. Number three, appeal to authority. Claims that scientific experts and authorities embrace woo, supported by conclusions, are often made, all of which are untrue and misleading. The scientific community strongly pushes back against the woo and other pseudoscientific approaches. Wrong again. Dr. Jeffrey Meldrum in the Bigfoot world, agree with him or not, is looking to put scientific understanding under things like Bigfoot. Once again, are you calling Gary Nolan from Stanford or Dr. Jacques Vallée ignorant because they are studying people who have had their own experiences? What about the scientists at Rice University who are running an entire program on people who have been allegedly abducted by aliens? So once again, Bill, you're wrong here again. Persecution complex. Number 4. People who embrace the woo often make claims of being persecuted by the powers that be, the men in black, the government, the mainstream media, the scientific community, or some other unidentified agency. No proof is ever provided to support these claims. Here, I'll give them a little bit of a break, because there's a lot of wild woo out there that really has no proof. I look at myself, for instance. I talk these subjects each and every night. I haven't had black helicopters flying over my house. I've never had blacked out SUVs following my vehicles or my family's vehicles or visiting me at my daytime job telling me, hey, don't you talk about that stuff. I don't think that happens as much as people's imaginations do. Okay? Because I like to think logically. But according to his article, where we get to next, I don't think very logically on these subjects. Go figure, because I'm a woo master. He goes on to say, the UFO subculture has become more and more fascinated by the woo, with some actively seeking out those individuals who peddle such steamy excrement. The woo has no place in legitimate investigative efforts. That's wrong, once again. Considering this guy's wife, she was a full-on woo experiencer up until they got together. Go figure, right? Anyways, the woo has no place in legitimate investigative efforts and has no productive value. Wrong again. Unless one makes the decision to abandon one's integrity in the name of fame, notoriety, or financial gain. Gee, I guess Dr. J. Allen Hynek was wrong about that. Remember Project Blue Book? Because he was somebody who didn't believe in the woo, didn't believe in people's experiences or what they were seeing. And by the time he passed, his mind had changed. Individuals who peddle the woo are harming the UFO subculture, misleading the masses, and embracing ideas, concepts that are untrue and completely void of any evidence to support them. Spaced Out Radio's Dave Scott is a prime example. Mr. Scott peddles the woo like it's going out of style and hosts a long list of guests who spout nonsensical content all along the way. His show does a great deal of damage to the UFO subculture by providing an endless amount of fake news, disinformation, and misinformation, all in the name of making a buck, gaining viewership, and building a brand name. Disgusting. Such is the situation in today's environment. It is no mystery why the human species has no answers for the UFO problem or other fringe topics. So, you can't make this up. This was actually written by somebody who, apparently has an education. Okay? So, I'm just looking at this illogical. All right. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, so I brought up my guests that I've had over the last few months. Okay. Sure, our Keith Andrews is Mr. Woo, but we have fun with Keith. Okay. Dr. Robert Shipe, who we had on just last night. Is he teaching woo because he is studying these little dragonflies that are being caught on his video cameras, high-tech video cameras? He's a doctor. Let's see here. Who else do we have? We have Jared Nelson, a former American Army, United States Army helicopter gunner and pilot on Apache helicopters. Well, he does UFO and UAP investigations with a pretty open mind. Dr. Michael P. Masters, who works at Montana Tech. I don't think he's a dummy. David Marler, here's the funny part about it. We just had David Marler on just before Christmas to talk about the APRO files. And the article that this person wrote right after mine was on David Marler and the APRO files. But no, we're not going to talk about that. Let's see. J. Allen Hynek's son, Paul Hynek, who teaches at Pepperdine University. Dr. Bob McGuire, Science Bob. What about Bob Spearing, who's one of the head board of directors on the board of directors of MUFON? Is Kevin Day stupid? He's the guy who reported in the Tic Tacs on the USS Nimitz as the head radar operator. Got to be pretty responsible to be the radar operator for an entire United States carrier fleet. Let's see. Who else do we have? How about lawyer Michael W. Hall? He's a pretty smart guy. And let's continue on. Michael Schratt, Jim Goodall, are they stupid? Don't think so. Dr. Phil and Pauline Byrne on paranormal hunting. How with them? I don't get it. That's just to name a few. Who does that? It doesn't help the scenario when people who are alleged scientists are cracking other people for their research because they do not agree with the point of view. Science is not about opinion. You cannot have an opinion when it comes to scientific endeavors. You can think one way, but you cannot close the doors because science never closes its doors because it is always evolving. So let's take some of the stories. I'm going to elongate this for a minute here. Let's take some of the stories that we have woken up people to. Is it woo where we have literally shown you that there is a difference between UAP and UFO? Is that woo? Us calling out NASA for their lies to the public about what they have and have not found, which we have shown evidence to, is that woo? I love the stories of people. We will continue to report the stories that people are experiencing. But this person always picks on the same people, like a bully normally does. Well, guess what, bully? You got called out. And I'm just not doing it anymore. This is the only time I'm going to actually comment on this because I thought it was absolutely laughable, absolutely ignorant, and absolutely poorly written by someone who blogs on this field. Next time, use your energy for better sources, like learning how to write that actually has content in it to explain your opinion, because you have taken shots at me about being a journalist before. So I will give you that one. And number two, if you want some airtime, go find a bag of hot air, because literally that's what your research is. It's hot air. And that is your Dave 101. Here's Shirky Poo's news.
What time is it?
It's time for Shirky Poo's news!
All right, let's start off here in British Columbia, where BC's annual list of top nuisance 911 callers was released, and there's some real head scratchers. Seems like there were some pretty impatient people in 2023 because one person called the emergency line to say a traffic light was taking ages, while others were calling to complain about McDonald's orders and Uber Eats delivery taking too long. Ecom, which handles about 99% of British Columbia's 911 calls, say there was a 13% increase in call volume in 2023 and stressed that nuisance calls take away resources from those who actually need help in an emergency. No matter how absurd the call might be on the surface, we have to treat every 911 call as an emergency until we can confidently determine otherwise, said Elena Milicevic, a police call taker at Ecom. Every second we spend fielding questions about Airbnb reservations or complaints about Uber Eats orders is time that we could have otherwise been dedicated to help someone in a life-threatening emergency situation. Top 10 calls asking for directions home from a Drake concert. The traffic light was taking too long to turn green. Number 3, they lost a nose ring down the shower drain. 4, their Airbnb host canceled their reservation. 5, a burger joint wouldn't let them in before opening time. Let's see. Number 7, they couldn't find their cell phone, yet they were talking on it. 8, to complain about a pothole on a road. 9, their McDonald's order was taking too long. And 10, the barber gave them a bad haircut. Here's what I say we do with these people who waste important jobs like 911 callers, they should be fined a minimum of $1,000. Okay? Minimum of $1,000 right off the bat, just to make sure that we know we're serious. All right, moving on. Let's see. Well, this one's kind of gross. In Salt Lake City, a man was found dead inside an airplane engine at Salt Lake City International Airport after police say he breached an emergency exit door, walked onto the tarmac, and climbed inside the engine. Who does this? Officers found the 30-year-old man unconscious inside an engine mounted to the wing of a commercial aircraft loaded with passengers. The plane had been sitting on a de-icing pad, and the engine was not running, according to the preliminary investigation. Yeah, the police did not release the name or the cause of the man's death. Let's get to another one here. Officials in Washington, D.C. are not digging the work of a TikToker named Tunnel Girl. Tunnel Girl has been ordered to abandon her unpermitted tunnel digging project at her suburban home after amassing 500,000 followers while documenting the elaborate excavation. Social media influencer, also known as Kala the Science Girl, has been building a tunnel system leading to a storm shelter off the side of her basement in Herndon, Virginia since October 2022. She uses the handles at Kaylin Jenner and engineer.everything, has taken down her viewers along this journey, showing them progression of a tunnel system that leads to a sub-basement chamber some 22 feet underground. The project included cutting through concrete, mining sediment, installing an elevator shaft, pumping out water, and installing electricity and ventilation. Yes, because the last thing the government needs is competition in hiding things underground. That is your news for this week, and a big thank you to all of you tuning us on in this past week so far and moving forward. Oh, it's been a good week so far. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up with the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
We're watching.
we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home.
I know you're out there somewhere watching me.
Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. All right. Let me just take these off for a second. So I'm not done here about my Dave 101. Okay? It's not just that person that has given me heat for being a wooster. Okay? Everybody seems to forget a couple of things here. Okay, number one, 99% of us got interested in these topics because of Art Bell. All right, let's just clarify that right off the bat. We got interested in these topics because Art Bell brought people's stories to the table. And when Art Bell started on Coast to Coast as a political show, he realized that when he opened up to these subjects that we love to talk about, his ratings as a radio host shot through the roof. Okay? They shot through the roof. And guess what happened? He realized that it was time to do more of that because ratings bring money. And when you work in radio, it is about making money. Okay? Look, guys, I have never lied to the fact that SOR is a business. May not be a big business, but it is a business. So when he sits there and says, making a buck, gaining viewership, and building a brand name, that is what we do. Explain the fake news to me, though. Okay? Explain the disinformation and misinformation. So, because he doesn't believe, it's wrong, it's fake. Does that make sense? It's like me coming to your house and you saying, "Hey, Dave, I heard you like meatloaf." And I picked that out because I actually do like meatloaf. Okay? And then I go searching your entire kitchen and I find fried chicken. And I'm like, no meatloaf. Okay? Where's the goddamn meatloaf? You told me we were having meatloaf. You're a liar. You're a liar. Well, Dave, I haven't made it yet. No, you're a liar. That's false information. That's fake news. I came over for meatloaf. Okay? SOR, I have never, ever said is not a business. Okay? Like I said, may not be a big business, but we're a business nonetheless. My job in radio is to entertain and educate people that these subjects are going on. Okay? So if I'm a liar about and a misinformation person, what about Jacques Vallée? Now, I'm not comparing myself to Jacques Vallée. He's a scientist. I am not. I'm a journalist and a radio host. But he's working with experiencers. Is he full of it? Because Lord knows that Jacques Vallée's resume is a hell of a lot stronger than the person who is chastising me. Okay? Or using critical thinking. So it is what it is. All right? And it's a weak ass attempt to go there. And if you watched him a few times, Fisher football, no, we won't talk Epstein on this show. This is not the show for it. Thank you, Davey, again. Okay, but if you watch what we do on a nightly basis, like all of you, okay, we try and bring a lot of fun here, okay, but we also try and bring the truth and the reality of what's happening in the UFO world, especially, right? So I can tell by that article that it was just another one of his pointless cheap shots. And Everett, if you're listening, shame on you for supporting it. I want my guitar, especially one of the Les Pauls you got buried in your vault 18 feet under your house. All right. The white one, please. Anyways, hi, Gentry. How you doing? Anyways, the point that I'm making, guys, is this. My job as a journalist and as a radio host, number one, is to entertain. Because if I'm not entertaining, I don't get hired by radio stations. That's plain and simple. If I don't get ratings, I don't have a job. Haven't been fired from a radio station yet. Yeah. So what it is we have somebody who is forcing his own beliefs and hiding behind the word science because he doesn't believe. And the way he nitpicks on people. Okay? If you don't like our Keith Andrews, okay, how about having a chat with him? I said to Bill one day, so why don't you have a talk with him? Call him up, see what kind of guy he is, find out what ticks. That would be something scientific to do in an investigation. He's never done it. Never done it at all. Three? Man, 3 or 2? 1, 3. Okay. T-Bone, thank you, my man. Appreciate you. I don't know. It didn't get under my skin. Okay. But it just grated me because I knew it was coming. He hadn't fired a salvo at me in a long time. And the big laugh that I got was the fact that the article above mine that he wrote, the hit piece on me again, was literally about David Marler releasing the APRO files. And the funny part about it is, if you go back to our David Marler archives, David Marler stated that he specifically wanted to break the news on Spaced Out Radio because of our credibility. Because we're professional broadcasters. Now, if we weren't professional, why would he drop that huge news about the APRO files, which hadn't been seen in almost 30, 40 years, on our show? If we weren't credible. No, his articles are always filled with holes, and even less with actual information that is truth. Thank you, time travel. Seriously, you guys have done enough. I'm gonna get mad at you guys yet here. You've done enough for tonight. Thank you very much. Okay. And I know he'll listen to this, and I know he'll probably respond. Okay. But you know what? One of the greatest compliments our audience could give me, and it sounds absolutely insulting, but it's not, is when somebody says to me, Dave, you are the voice that puts me to sleep at night. And I usually respond sarcastically and say, oh, great. Thanks for tuning in just so I could put you to sleep. Glad I'm entertaining that way. And I laugh because I know what they mean. Okay? I know what they mean completely. All right? And it's a high compliment that somebody out there, including all of you, actually want to take the time and spend it with us here when you could be doing something else. I know that it's about relaxing you. It's about trying to take that daily stress that you have about work, about bills, about politics, about saying the wrong pronouns, about, trying to figure out what's for dinner. Maybe your kids are acting up or bad grades or their football or hockey coaches are being a little bit too rough on. Life is stressful right now. Hi, Shake Television. Welcome. Okay. And Shaq Filet, welcome to you too, buddy. Okay. I understand that, guys. My job and the way I see it, whether it's to you guys on YouTube or to people listening on the podcast or to my radio stations that I have, okay, is to bring nightly comfort and wonderment to the audience. And that's what I think we succeed at doing. But this moron doesn't understand it. But he'll hide behind the word science from his degree 30 years ago, that he doesn't even work in the profession anymore. Okay? He doesn't get it. He doesn't get what we do. He doesn't understand what we do. He doesn't want to get it, because if he were to actually get it, he'd have nothing to pick on people about. Okay? You want to pick on our Keith Andrews? Take me on. Okay? I'll defend the guy every day of the week. You know why? Because I know him personally. Okay? That is a man who has been literally bullied his entire life. He doesn't know anything different. And at 60 years old or 80 years old, however old you are, wearing the ball cap because you got a skullet instead of an actual full head of hair. Okay? And if you want some, I can lend you some. All right? To pick on somebody at that age and bully him because you don't believe his stories, that's cowardly. Cowardly. Guess what, Mr. Bill? You don't have to tune in. Anybody who doesn't agree with our topics or way we do things, guess what? You have the ability not to tune in. You have the democratic right not to tune in. Incredulous. Right? Now, I'm not trying to pick a fight here, okay, because I don't usually play this game with trolls, okay? I don't. But after, I don't know, 3-4 years of this bullshit, it's just time to just say something. It really is. And I know he'll hear it. I know he's going to respond because he can't help himself. But I'm not responding back. All right? Him and his 12 followers in life, one being his wife, okay, can literally unsubscribe. Okay? Unsubscribe. And anybody who does support him, go check our lineup. See how much woo we actually do. We use the word woo more than we actually produce on this show. That's how you know he's not listening and hasn't been listening. Hey, Yay, how are you? I'm not going to name his name. I'm not going to give him any gas power. Right? Just like the dude a few weeks ago who tried to out me on by sending my daytime job link to some of our fans. Okay, just to try and promote his show and to call me a liar that I'm not who I say I am. Of course not. I use an alias. Dave is my real name. Scott is my middle name. And yes, my daytime job, I work in the car business. And I'm very proud of that because I've had a great career in the car business. And I love it. And I do this as my side business, trying to see how far we can build it. Oh, it's so hard to talk about the truth because people want to try and pull you on down. It's ridiculous. It's bullshit, and it's not worth it. Terrible broadcast. So, yeah, I don't want any of our listeners going over to the blog or saying any shit like that because that'll just fire them up. Okay? That'll just, add salt to the fire. Don't bother. He'll hear this. He'll respond. Okay? Unprofessional. Right? Because that's what normally happens. Okay? But I'm not changing. Hell no. I'm not changing. Oh, Ian, I know the drama is loved, right? I know that, right? People love the drama. Oh, absolutely, the Doug Shelby. I just thought it was funny. It got pointed out to me the other night by, I think, Road Flare pointed it out. Says, who is this guy insulting you? I went and looked, and I'm like, oh, God, I'm the target again. Here we go again. That's how he talks. Yeah. And the funny part about it is when you hear, when you hear him talk about and the insults that, he'll do on his live show, whether it's at me or whether it's at R. Keith Andrews, he just says the same thing over and over again. Use a script. And there's never any evidence to it. Non-scientific. Either way, I'm done with it. I got it all out. I did. Got it all out. Oh, hilarious. And another thing too, okay, how come this is the only field in the world, okay, and I'm saying the field of the phenomenon, whether it's Bigfoot or paranormal or UFOs, where everybody freaks out if you're making $1 off of this. Everybody shits their pants, with the grifter tab or whatever. Why in this business are we not allowed to make a living? Think about that for a second. What if you are a golfer and you wanted to play golf every day in your life and you could make money at it? Would you do it? What if you could literally be a professional fisherman and just fish every day or hunt every day? Or, by God, let's say you love football. Let's say you were a good high school football player. And you had the opportunity, now that you're older, to coach football full time. Would you do it? Or would you say, oh, ho, 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 Whoa, I can't fish every day and be paid for it. Oh no, I'm not going to coach football because I need a career. Excuse me. Oh, you want to pay me that money to coach football? No, I'd rather work on the on my job at Hot Tar Roofing. Thank you again, Time Travel. Very much appreciate it. Think about it. What if you love working out and you can get a job as a trainer? Or let's say you can make people feel good and you get a job as a motivational speaker. Okay? Why shouldn't you be allowed to do that job? And if you have an opportunity, as long as you're not screwing people over out of their income and grifting them that way, because that's true grifting, okay, a la Wilcock and others, then why can't you have a career that you love? Why can't you make money at a career that you love doing? I love doing radio as much as I love my daytime job. Okay, and I'm fortunate. I work for a great company. Okay, but why am I not allowed to make money at radio? That's what I went to college for. I love radio. It's one of my passions. Okay, like Ozzy Ange there, her and her husband own a gym and they enjoy it. They work out there. Okay, it's been successful for them. But hey, Ozzy Ange, you're not allowed to make money off of that because you're having fun. Not allowed. Ross, we'll try and find that. I haven't done a show on that in a long time. I'll try and find that for you, man. Let me type that in here. Hold on. I'll send that to the team. All right. Done. Anyways, I'm going to call it the night here. All right. I'm going to call it the night because I got to move my all my computer stuff over and send it off. And look like a mad one of those little trolls, that you spin. Hold on. Oh, that's fun. Not allowed to have fun here. This is serious stuff. Guys, especially Louis, T-Bone, Davey, and Time Travel going nuts on the super chats tonight. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate the love. And we'll see you tomorrow night. Guess who our guest is? R. Keith Andrews and the ET connection. Let's turn the woo shit right up to like 12 or 14 on the volume, okay? Let's blow these pricks out of the water. Have a good night, everybody. See you tomorrow.
healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.